Candlestick Park in San Francisco. It's the home opener for the National League champions, the San Francisco Giants, hosting the San Diego Padres. Hi, everyone. I'm Steve Physiak along with Norm Hitzges, and today we may have last year's champs going against this year's champs. Now, the Giants, they're decimated by injuries, and they go against the Padres, who may be everybody's critic's choice this year to win the National League West, Norm.
Yeah, when the Padres picked up Craig Lefferts for their bullpen and Freddie Lynn for their outfield, and then the huge bat of Joe Carter, everybody's jumped on their bandwagon. The Giants, on the other hand, people say, well, they don't repeat in the National League West, which is true, and they point to the Giants' pitching problems, but remember, the Giants won last year despite giant pitching problems.
And we also may have the top two offenses in the National League. San Diego and San Francisco can flat hit the baseball. Last year's batting title came down to Clark and Gwynn.
And came down to the last day when Tony Gwynn dumped in a base hit to win the batting title. His third consecutive batting title, fourth in 6 years. But Gwynn is just one of a half a dozen of huge offensive stars in this game. Gwynn, Jack Clark, and Joe Carter for the Padres. And the Giants, of course, with Will Clark, Kevin Mitchell, the MVP, Matt Williams, Kevin Bass, their signee. I'll tell you what, Steve, these may be the two most offensive teams in this league.
But, Norm, if it comes down to pitching, it really looks like San Diego has the edge because San Francisco's all beaten up.
Yeah, Kelly Downs had surgery again this week on his shoulder rotator cuff. Don Robinson out till June with a reconstructed knee. Jose Alvarez a sore forearm. The Padres, meanwhile, their staff looks pretty well set up. Maybe this is the best team in the National League.
Well, we have two excellent-looking right-handers and both healthy going to the mound tonight. It will be Ed Whitson for San Diego against Scott Garrelts. We'll come back with the starting lineups after this.
The Hodgson family has been building boats for 5 generations, and they use Craftsman, a line of 1,600 hand tools, all guaranteed forever. So once you buy one, there's only one reason you'd ever have to buy another.
Now, when you buy Green Sweep ready-to-use lawn care products, you can save $120 on American Airlines tickets. Get a lawn to be proud of with Green Sweep. Then enjoy your $120 savings on American. It's easy with Green Sweep.
BF Goodrich TA tires perform like great athletic shoes. They grab. They dig. They give you control.
BF Goodrich TA tires.
BF Goodrich TA tires. The athletic shoes for your car.
BF Goodrich TA tires.
Here are some of the veterans you'll see at the ballpark this season. And some of our rookies.
Feel the thrill again. Join us at the ballpark.
The preceding message was furnished by Major League Baseball.
ESPN Baseball Tonight, brought to you by Mitsubishi, bringing you a full line of award-winning automobiles. See them all at your Mitsubishi Motors dealer. And by Bud Light. Everything else is just a light.
Here's the Sears Die Hard starting lineup. Leading off for the San Diego Padres, Biff Roberts. Hitting in the 2 spot will be Roberto Alomar. He'll be at second base. Batting third at right field, Tony Gwynn. The cleanup batter is Jack Clark. He'll be at first base. Joe Carter in the 5 spot over from the Cleveland Indians will be in center field tonight. Fred Lynn, who's hit 2 home runs already this year, in left field and batting in the number 6 spot. Benito Santiago behind the plate will bat 7th. Gary Templeton in the number 8 position, the shortstop. And Ed Whitson will be on the mound, 16 wins a year ago. Defensively, Kevin Bass is in right field. Brett Butler in center. Kevin Mitchell will be in left. Matt Williams at third base tonight for San Francisco. Jose Uribe at shortstop. Robbie Thompson at second base. Will Clark at first base. Terry Kennedy is behind home plate. And on the mound, Scott Garrelts.
The opening day festivities here at Candlestick Park delaying the start of this game just a touch. Scott Garrelts came on to be an outstanding pitcher for the Giants last year. He was 14-5, and in 4 of those 5 losses, the Giants got him no runs or 1 run. Scott Garrelts also had a bunch of no decisions and had his year interrupted by a small stint on the disabled list. So Scott Garrelts could have easily been a 20-game winner last year and could have challenged for the Cy Young Award had everything broken very well for him during the year.
And there's a look at Jack McKeon, the skipper for the San Diego Padres, also their general manager, and he said he did some wheeling and dealing in delightful style this offseason. He made some acquisitions where he said that you dream about, like acquiring Joe Carter from Cleveland.
Well, that's the positive side of Jack McKeon's wheeling and dealing. The negative side is, do they have enough in the bullpen? Is their left side of the infield strong enough to contend? And what about their depth?
And for the San Francisco Giants, you can hear Candlestick Park explode. And there is Scott Garrelts, the earned run average leader from a year ago at 2.28 for the National League. And he came on a reliever when he started. And then all of a sudden, he was a dominant pitcher last year with 14 wins in 19 decisions. Scott Garrelts, hard-throwing right-hander, throws in the low 90s, Norman. When he gets that split-finger fastball in there, he can be impossible to hit.
He is 29 years old, a former #1 draft choice of this club, right out of high school in June of 1979, was the 15th player taken overall. Primarily a fastball pitcher. High 80s generally. Once in a while, when he really rears back and leans on it, will move it into the low 90s. Also blends in a slider, and it's a good, tough slider. It makes him incredibly difficult on right-hand hitters. They hit a .183 against Scott Garrelts last year. And, of course, how can you pitch for Roger Craig and not have a split-finger fastball? You know, one of the unusual things about Scotty Garrelts, though, is one of the keys tonight for Scott Garrelts is the guy catching him, Terry Kennedy. Last year when Terry Kennedy caught Scott Garrelts, his earned run average was 1.89. All other catchers, it was up near 3, which still isn't bad. But Kennedy and Garrelts seem to have established one of those unique relationships between catcher and pitcher.
That's a love affair you never want to break up, and Scott Garrelts loves it here at Candlestick Park. The grass is higher than normal regular turf fields, and last year at this ballpark, he was 10-2 with a 1.57 earned run average in 16 starts here at the stick. He has a marvelous defense to work with. There's a look at the dimensions there. 335 down the line, 400 to straightaway center, and 365 to the power alleys. And it is not a great hitter's park, but with the wind, it can be a great pitching ballpark because it usually blows in. And that's why it's remarkable the numbers Kevin Mitchell had here last year with 47 home runs.
It is a tough hitter's park. It's especially a wonderful park for Garrelts, who is 34-22 in his career, 12 over 500 in this park, just 3 over 500 on the road. And the bad news for Biff Roberts, who's going to lead off for San Diego, is that this is April. This is Biff's 3rd April in the major leagues. And, Steve, he's averaging a hit per April. 3 for 45 in April in his life.
And only you could come up with that stat. So Biff Roberts is just praying for May to come quickly. But, boy, was he a marvelous leadoff hitter last year. 81 runs scored in only 387 plate appearances. And Scott Garrelts leads him off with strike 1. Matt Williams in deep at third because Roberts can really fly in a good bunter. He throws high and tight, and the count evens out at 1 ball and 1 strike.
This is a key player for the San Diego Padres because Biff Roberts has got to fill the third base hole.
Roberts slams it back to the screen. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
The questions about the Padres revolve around the rotation after Bruce Hurst. Guys like Whitson, guys like Shaw, and they revolve around the left side of the infield. Templeton and Roberts or Pagliarulo at third.
Garrelts throws high. Count goes even. 2 balls and 2 strikes. And Garrelts can really get in front. Years past, he would walk so many batters. And last year, he cut his walks in half. And Roberts goes after this one. Fights it off foul. Count stays even. 2-2. It's part of the sellout crowd here at Candlestick Park. And a look at the fine young third baseman who for years has been compared with Mike Schmidt. And that is Matt Williams. Of course, we have Biff Roberts at the plate. Ball strike count on him, 2-2. Again, he fights it off foul. Remains 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Bad hand 2 boots down. Bad hand.
They reached for it, though.
Well,
it's an EF, an error on the fan. Roberts goes to center field and drives Brett Butler back. Here goes Butler at the screen. It's over his head and bounces just in front of the right fielder, who came over to cut off the play, and Roberts into third easily with a triple. And Butler was playing him so shallow.
Butler had shaded Bip Roberts way over to left center field. They play the left-hand hitting Roberts like a right-hand pull hitter. And when Roberts hits the ball basically straight away, it's a long run for Butler, who seemed to have this ball tracked. And actually, the ball was catchable. Now Butler, in effect, circled the ball and didn't get it.
And he's playing with his 14-inch glove. He doesn't have to give it up until May.
Realize one other thing, though. This park is
the wind.
This is fairyland out here. You never know what's going to happen with the wind in here.
So Roberts on third, nobody out. First inning at Candlestick Park, the National League champion San Francisco Giants against the San Diego Padres. And Roberto Alomar standing in there. He's hitting .313 this year with 1 home run. He's hit safely in his first 4 games, and he takes up theirs 2 balls and no strikes.
There's a guy who's had a lot of trouble with Scott Gereltz in his career, 2 for 15. But as Kennedy heads for the mound to talk to Gereltz, you're going to find a kid like Alomar who's going to have trouble with certain pitchers early in his career. Then, as his career goes on, he'll get a feeling for pitchers. He'll start to do better against the guys who'd had his number early, because this is still a baby in the major leagues.
A very talented baby, though. All kinds of potential. Here's the 2-0 pitch, and he sends a ground ball to Robbie Thompson. Roberts has to hold, and the throw to first in time to catch Roberto Alomar. Let's go now to John Saunders at our ESPN Baseball Tonight studios.
Thanks a lot, Steve. The Yankees and the Rangers at Yankee Stadium. Dave Righetti on to close out the game, facing Cecil Aspie. Sends this shot out to center field, and Roberto Kelly makes a diving catch. That was the second out. They get out of it. Yanks win 3-0 back to the stick.
And here at Candlestick Park, a scoreless ball game. Tony Gwynn, the batter. 1 out. Bip Roberts at third base. No score as Gereltz stares in and faces the most fearsome hitter in the National League last year at .336, and he fouls one off left field side at strike 1.
Here you have a classic confrontation. Gereltz, definitely a strikeout pitcher, almost 6 per 9 innings last year, 7.5 the year before. Desperately needing a strikeout, man at third and 1 out against a guy that does not strike out.
Oh, the numbers that you were telling me about before this ball game are unbelievable, Tony Gwynn. How long has it been since he last struck out?
101 consecutive at-bats since his last strikeout.
I know it was like 7 months. We had a little interruption there, like Christmas and Thanksgiving. Here's the 0-1 to Tony Gwynn. Takes outside, 1 ball, 1 strike.
One other note on his strikeout, Steve. If you take the 10 pitchers most likely to strike out a hitter last year in the National League, he faced them 72 times. He struck out once against the 10 most likely to strike you out.
Line drive, base hit into left field. In comes Roberts. It's 1-0 San Diego. And that beautiful swing, Gereltz tried to get one over on the outside corner of the plate, and Gwynn just moving with it perfectly.
Gwynn's a master. You almost get a feeling of watching a tennis player when you watch Tony Gwynn hit, because he'll serve the ball. Watch this. This is just like a tennis backhand. Flick it down the far line.
And, you know, he's changed from that leadoff spot to the number 3 spot. And you saw those 2 guys over first base. That is a love affair in itself. Will Clark just loves the way Tony Gwynn hits, and Tony Gwynn thinks Will Clark's the best hitter in the National League. Here is Jack Clark, and there is a big swing.
Jack Clark doesn't get cheated, does he?
Not at all. He did get some boos, though, tonight. We're taking a look at Sandy Alomar Sr. over third base. Third base coaching box. Greg Riddock is over in the first base side for the San Diego Padres.
Realize this could be a running situation for the Padres. Jack McKeon, given the lead early, will sometimes pressure a team by running. You just hate to take the bat out of Clark's hands.
Gwynn had 40 stolen bases last year, because they may put Clark on, because you know how this game was orchestrated by Roger Craig. He calls all the pitches, and he is not afraid to put extra base runners on there. He does not want to let guys like number 25 beat him.
Problem is, That theory works last year when the guy hitting behind Clark was questionable. This year it's Joe Carter, and you can get yourself in deep trouble putting Clark on a lot to pitch to Carter this year.
Maybe they want to challenge that men in scoring position stat on Joe Carter. He did have 105 RBIs last year, but he was not that great a clutch hitter in the latter half of 1989.
But again, he suffered from, to some degree, the same thing Clark did. The guys behind Joe Carter weren't hitting at all.
1 ball, 1 strike to Jack Clark, and Gwynn is not going, and a pitch inside. Home plate umpire tonight, Doug Harvey. At first base is Jerry Crawford. Second, Dana DeMuth, and Tom Hallion at third. 1-0 San Diego has the lead, and there's a look at your umpires this evening. The old veteran Doug Harvey. 2-1. Gwynn as the throw goes to first base, and Grelch does not have a great move to first, but he does have the slide step home, which helps Terry Kennedy. Gwynn with a big lead at first. He's not going. The pitch out is there, and that is one thing we'll see a lot from Roger Craig's pitchers.
Tell you what, Roger Craig goes against the book, and there's a very unusual call. You seldom see 2-1 pitch-ups. Clark's homers, of course, coming 3 different teams: Yankees, Cardinals, and Padres.
Gwynn's going. The 3-1 pitch is fouled off, so Tony goes back to first base, and Jack Clark has the count full on him, 3-2. And the interesting thing about Clark, his average used to be higher. In the last 3 years, he's had 100+ strikeouts all 3 seasons. Prior to that, he never had more than 84.
One of the problems you have with a base stealer like Gwynn in a hit-and-run situation like this, that is run the runner on a 3-2 count, is that Clark strikes out a great deal. So Gwynn's got to get a jump here as though he were stealing second.
And there he goes, and the pitch is low and inside, ball 4, so Clark is on. Gwynn goes to second base, and Scott Garreld's in trouble here in the first. He's already given up a run. Biff Roberts tripled on him. Tony Gwynn with 1 out, single to left field, so it's 1-0 San Diego. And Garreld's trying to settle down where last year Roger Craig enjoyed him at Candlestick Park, where he went 10-2 with a 1.5+ earned run average.
Joe Carter cost the Padres a terrific young catch of Roberto Alomar Jr. Cost him Carlos Baerga. It ain't going to be long before he's starting at third base for the Indians. And Chris James, a starting outfielder. That's a high price to pay.
Well, he's in an RBI situation here. He got his first base hit yesterday after 15 at-bats, and it helped lead the San Diego Padres to an 8-6 victory over the Los Angeles Dodgers. Played on the lowest scoring team in the American League last year, the Cleveland Indians. Here's the pitch. In there, 1 ball, 1 strike.
Over the last 4 years, only 2 people have more homers than Carter. Davis and Strawberry. And only 2 have more RBIs. George Bell and Dwight Evans. That gives you an idea of where he sits in baseball over the last 4 years.
And he chops it foul back to the screen, and as you might expect with a power hitter, they are really playing him to pull. Mitchell is deep in left, and Williams that time was way over near the third base line, only about 4 feet off.
Tell you what, if Joe Carter were to hit a ground ball down a first base line, it could conceivably be an inside the park homer, because the giant right fielder is way around, and Clark's at least 20 to 25 feet off the first base bat.
He grounds it, foul. And the count stays the same, 1 ball, 2 strikes. The infield of Williams, Uribe, Thompson, and Clark is very talented, but they have been weak defensively to start this season. Robbie Thompson made a critical error the other day against the Atlanta Braves, allowing the Braves to claim their first win this year. San Francisco came in at 2-1, San Diego 2-2. Runners take their leads, and here's the pitch to Joe Carter. Just misses inside with the breaking pitch, and the count runs even at 2 balls and 2 strikes.
But you're likely to see very few, if any, ball and strike arguments tonight, because Doug Harvey, a little off the corner, in retrospect, a little off the corner, Doug Harvey's probably consensus the best ball and strike umpire in this league, maybe in the entire game.
Carter, line drive to Uribe. They go to Thompson and get the double play to end the inning. So San Diego scores 1, but Garreld's gets out of the jam. It's 1-0 Padres as we head
May the road rise to meet you. May the sun shine warm upon your face. But when it's miserable and you want to look like a million, may you be going in a V6 four-wheel drive Mitsubishi Montero.
Welcome. This way. Beautiful things.
Cool. Ed, look at this. What is it?
It says to get Genie Rub Light.
Rub light?
Rub Light?
It says to get Genie Bud Light.
The clean, fresh taste of Bud Light won't fill you up and never lets you down.
Okay, Ed, now you get a wish.
Bud Light, because everything else is just a light.
What you're about to see is a sim. Brushstrokes, runs, streaks. Now consider the new Wagner Power Painter. It has patented controls for precision. A convenient backpack for big jobs. It paints smoothly and evenly over cracks and tough surfaces. Why did we ruin this beauty? So you wouldn't ruin this one. Wagner, not just a whole lot faster, a whole lot better.
Of all the vehicles you could have purchased 10 years ago, there is one that, had you given it normal maintenance, you could still trade in today for half the original sticker price, and even had something to mow the lawn with. The John Deere Lawn Tractor.
After 30,000 miles in the Mitsubishi Galant, Car and Driver called it an ideal car for a long-term relationship. The reason? Not a single thing went wrong. Nothing. Now you could save up to $1,000 with factory-to-dealer incentives.
Here's the Sears Die Hard starting lineup for the San Francisco Giants. Leading off in center field, Brett Butler. Hitting second, Kevin Bass, the right fielder. Batting third, Will Clark. It'll be Kevin Mitchell hitting the 4 spot. Matt Williams in the 5 spot. He'll be at third base. Robbie Thompson hits 6. Terry Kennedy, number 7 place. And then it'll be Jose Uribe at 8. And Scott Gurel batting 9th and on the mound. Defensively for San Diego, Tony Gwynn is in right field. Joe Carter in center field. Fred Lynn in left. Biff Roberts, Gary Templeton, Roberto Alomar, Jack Clark on the infield. Benito Santiago behind home plate. And Ed Whitson on the mound.
Soon-to-be 35-year-old Ed Whitson really came into his own last year. Had the best year of his career in San Diego. The one small drawback for Ed Whitson, he often has first-inning troubles. Over the last 3 years, his first-inning ERA is over 5, and last year allowed 8 first-inning homers.
And he will face one of the consummate leadoff batters in all of baseball, Brett Butler. He had 5 walks last night, tying a National League record, last done by Dale Murphy in 1987. His line score was 1-4-1-1. Giants won at 13-4. 1 at bat officially. He actually had 5 plate appearances, but scored 4 runs, had 1 hit, and 1 RBI. The count to him is 1 ball and 1 strike. Leads the league in runs scored with 5 and in walks with 7. Here's the 1-1 pitch from Ed Whitson. And Butler swings and fouls it off. It stays at 1 ball and 2 strikes. So the third baseman, Biff Roberts, will back up just a bit at third. He was about 10 feet down the line at third base on the infield grass, playing because Butler is an outstanding bunter.
Eddie Whitson mixes a fastball with a slider, a palm ball, one of the few palm ball artists left around, and a curveball.
Butler takes high, counts even 2-2.
Ed Whitson developed the palm ball in San Diego about 6 or 7 years ago. He did it because he cut a finger and couldn't grip the ball properly. Just developed the palm ball that day to use for a couple of starts.
And, you know, he did it on opening a can of pop, like you said, and he couldn't grip the slider, and that was his out pitch.
Yep.
Numbers last year, 16 and 11.
Look at the innings.
Look at
he
the
gave
walks.
this club 227 innings. And 6 of those walks were intentional, which makes it even more impressive, I think.
Butler reaches out and laces one foul down the left field line. Count remains full. 3 balls and 2 strikes. So when he couldn't grip that slider, he just pushed the ball back into his hands. Didn't even tell the pitching coach, who was disturbed after he found out, but the palm ball worked and his career went up. Everybody has to have the change of pace. Here's the 3-2 to Brett Butler. He hits one hard deep to right field, but it will be foul. He can get around on a fastball. And the book says Butler's a better breaking pitch hitter. And he tells you, I know, I'm a better fastball hitter. And he turns on that fastball by Ed Whitson.
Well, there's Whitson's first inning trouble. That was very, very poorly located. Look at the turn Butler gets on a fastball with very little on it right above the belt.
Laces went back up the middle, base hit for Brett Butler. So he was on every time yesterday at Atlanta and starts off with a base hit here. He has just worked over Ed Whitson, hitting .450 in his career against Ed.
Well, if Brett Butler can have a good year this year, with Kevin Bass sitting in the 2 spot and Matt Williams here the entire year at the 5 spot, Brett Butler's a very, very good bet to lead this league in runs scored.
He had 100 last year. The league leader was Will Clark, his teammate, with 104. And here's Kevin Bass batting from the left side. He's a switch hitter, acquired in the offseason from the Houston Astros. Butler with the lead at first. Here's the pitch, stays in there for a strike.
Kevin Bass, before last year, had been one of those guys that the Astros wrote his name in the lineup every day, just let him go play.
Butler had 2 stolen bases yesterday against the Braves. Here's the 0-1 pitch. Butler not going. It's ground ball back up the middle. Base hit. Butler makes the turn at second. He's heading for third. And Carter will make no throw. It's back to second base. So the Giants have runners at the corners. Nobody out in the bottom of the first.
Well, here's that first inning bugaboo of Eddie Whitson. He often, and a lot of finesse pitchers are like this, they take an inning or two to really locate their pitches, to get a feel for the game. Bass just drives this ball right back up the pipe. And now, the worst thing a pitcher can do, Butler and Bass get on for this trifecta.
And this guy, well, his numbers are incredible. Second to Tony Gwynn in batting last year at .333. 23 home runs, 111 RBIs, and the pitch to Will Clark is hit in the air, but foul. Runners at the corners. Nobody out. And many scouts say the most dangerous hitter in baseball standing in. He's hitting .583 this year, and he swings and fouls it off. He's in the hole, 0-2. Bass with good speed at first base. Butler at third. Here's the 0-2 pitch. Misses high, 1-2.
Whitson now, who usually is a fastball pitcher. More than half of everything Eddie throws is a fastball. Problem is, this is a dead fastball hitter. Look for Whitson to go to one of the other pitches in his assortment.
Came sidearm that time, and he throws high. It's 2 balls and 2 strikes. Oh, what a magic moment it was last year. Mitch Williams on the mound, National League Championship Series, and this guy at the plate. And you almost had the feeling throughout Candlestick that he was going to come through.
Well, that was his series. That was Will Clark's coming out party. Yup, change up.
It will score a run. They go to second, get 1 on to first, and they get the double play. But the game is tied at 1. No RBI for Clark as Butler checks in from third.
Dynamite pitching job by Eddie Whitson. He did go away from the fastball. He got ahead of Clark 0-2, then knocked Clark off with a fastball, gave him the sidearm to show him to something different, and the pitch he was trying to set up was this one. This little dead fish palm ball, and it gets him out of the inning, or 2/3 of the way out.
Because stepping in is big number 7, Kevin Mitchell. And he laces one to the shortstop on the line to end the inning. So double plays help out both San Diego and San Francisco to start this game. We're still locked at 1 as we head to the second inning of play.
If you can hit a softball, you can always hit it better. Ray DeMarini's reflex hitting system, only from ESPN, can make you a better, more consistent hitter. For just $29.95, you'll learn hitting techniques to improve your stance, swing, bat speed, and timing.
Get ready to make yourself a better hitter.
Ray DeMarini has been a successful 600-plus hitter from local to national levels of slow-pitch softball. And his exclusive reflex hitting system from ESPN Home Video will give you all you need to know for a higher average, greater power, and increased performance, regardless of your size. Be the star of your softball team with the Ray DeMarini Reflex Hitting System for only $29.95 from ESPN Home Video. Call 1-800-554-9000 to order today, or to get your free catalog of videos from ESPN Home Video.
Hey, how are you? Sorry that I'm not at home, but when I get the message on my telephone, you'll be the first one on my list.
Crazy Calls, a tape of 7 different songs and funny recordings for answering machines.
Nobody's home. Nobody's home.
Only $14.95.
Wait for the beat. You gotta leave your name. You gotta leave your number.
To order,
Call 1-800-554-9000.
Back to Candlestick in a moment. Let's check elsewhere around the National League. The Los Angeles Dodgers, Mike Scioscia has a home run. They're up 6-0. Morgan with a 4-hitter. Greg Maddux, 2 hits, pitched 7 2/3 as the Cubs beat the Pirates. Cardinals had 7 runs in the 9th as they shut out the Phillies 11-0. And Saber with 2 home runs. The Braves lose to the Reds. Let's get it back to the stick.
Candlesticks Park, second inning of play, tied at 1, San Diego and San Francisco, and this will be the 4th opener that the Padres have had this year. They've had the Dodgers, they've had their own, they'll have San Francisco's, and later this week they'll have Cincinnati. And Fred Lynn will lead things off against Scott Gereltz, and he fouls him back to the screen, 0-1. So they'll be all partied out by the time they get back home, Norm.
Tell you what, the Padres have a wonderful early season schedule, though, don't they? They got a chance to jump out quickly.
They start 2-2. They had 1 game against the Dodgers at Dodger Stadium, and then went home. And
then they do the Giants and the Reds, and then they get a nice, solid 12-game homestand. This club can do well on this little mini road trip, San Francisco and Cincinnati. They're in great shape.
Fred Lynn, ground ball. That boy almost eats up Will Clark, but he makes the play himself over at first base. And there's 1 out. And that takes us to Benito Santiago, as Scott Gereltz had difficulty in the first inning settling down, but got out of it on a wonderful double play by Jose Uribe and Robbie Thompson with 2 on and only 1 out.
Each pitcher could have had a lot more damage done to him in the first inning. This could easily be 3 or 4 for either team.
There's the pitch for Benito, and he pops it foul, out of play. It's 0-1. Santiago hit .236 last year, 16 home runs, 62 RBIs, and starts this year at .417. Still looking for his first home run, and does have 2 RBIs.
This is a guy who does well against Scott Gereltz. It's a .389 hitter career against him, 7 for 18.
Takes inside. 1 ball, 1 strike. He is trying to become more patient at the plate, and that was the problem that he had with Jack McKeon last year, was the fact that McKeon wanted to be more selective. Hey, Benito wanted to, I see it, I swing at it. And he takes this one back up the middle, just by Jose Uribe into center field. That's a base hit. So Benito Santiago comes up with a 1-out base hit. You know, Uribe, Norm, has put on a little weight, and you wonder if he would have been able to get to that one, about 20 pounds lighter.
I don't know. That ball looked up the middle. He is a little heavier. It doesn't look fat. He just looks a little bit heavier at shortstop.
That takes us to Gary Templeton. His numbers last year.
By the way, we show you the on-base average there. Note, that's the percentage of times the hitter gets on base in a season.
Santiago has pretty good speed, and Gereltz throw over with 1 out.
The intent of the on-base average that we're giving you is to give you an idea of some of the guys who may not have terribly high averages but draw a lot of walks. Templeton, you noticed, on base only 28.6% of the time. And there's two, Stevie.
You got it. Uribe will turn it, and they get the easy double play to end the inning. And the Giants come up with a double play in the first and a double play here to end the second. It's still 1-1, Giants and San Diego.
The Hodgson family has been building boats for 5 generations, and they use Craftsman, a line of 1,600 hand tools, all guaranteed forever. So once you buy one, there's only one reason you'd ever have to buy another.
For better back control, there's only one glove crafted with Batard's digital Cabrera leather. Franklin, a batting glove that's a hit with the best in baseball.
The problem with most weeds is they have unusually deep roots. And if you don't pull up the whole root, the weeds will grow right back. So this year, try Scott's Turf Builder plus 2 weed and feed. You'll get a great lawn without weeds or your money back. From Scott's.
The cool for your caddy, the juice for your jag. It's the Jolt Finger Gold, and what wins is the drag.
You want to add life to the life of your car? Give it the good stuff. Kendall Motor Oil. Pour it in and pour it on.
The push in your pickup, the zap in your seat, the revs in your turbo, and the heart of your Lano GT. Pour it in, pour it on, pour in the Kendall, and pour it on.
From William Friedkin, director of The Exorcist.
There's no evidence that the woman you describe ever existed.
The Guardian, rated R. Starts Friday, April 27th at theaters everywhere.
In the American League, the Boston Red Sox and Milwaukee Brewers in quite a battle. And Gary Sheffield does the job here, slicing it down the right field line. It's a double and scores Billy Bates as the Brewers boost their lead. Ellis Burkstead lining to Mike Felder, and watch the jump Felder does, falling away, makes the throw back to second, doubles up Marty Barrett. It's 7-5 on Rob Deere's home run.
Bottom of the second we go. San Diego, San Francisco tied at 1, and to lead things off for the Giants, Matt Williams. What an incredible year Williams had last year, and as you look at the young star, just 26 years old, and he chops one foul, and he falls in the hole. No balls and 1 strike. He had 44 home runs, Matt Williams did a year ago. 26 in the minors, 18 in the majors.
Realize also that in the last 2 years, realize he only spent a half year in the minors last year. In the last 2 years, there's only been 1 guy hit 30 homers in the minors.
And he would have had it easily. He grounds it foul, and he's really in the hole. 0-2. And with Whitson's breaking stuff and off-speed stuff, that has been the problem for Williams in the past.
Well, Matt Williams can forget seeing any more fastballs here. Oh, he may see one. It isn't going to be over that little white piece of rubber down there.
Not at all. We may see a supreme waste pitch here. Matt swings and misses, and that was it, and he strikes out.
High fastball way out of the strike zone, and Williams fishes for it. You know, Eddie Whitson's a guy who statistically looks like the 500 pitcher. Coming into tonight, career-wise, 108 and 108. And at this moment, look at the hits and innings pitched. That is, to this moment, 1,934 innings, 1,934 hits.
That's balance. And his record 108 and 108, as Norm indicated. Well, he stands in there against Robbie Thompson. Thompson this year hitting .455, 241 last year with 13 home runs. He has some power, trying to cut down on his swing, and he takes outside and low. 1 ball, 1 strike.
You know, hitting down in the lineup, maybe Robbie doesn't have to cut down on his swing now. At the 2 spot, he was asked to do a lot of things he probably wasn't as capable of.
Well, he laces one to center. In comes Joe Carter. It settles in for a base hit. Thompson with a wide turn at first, but he'll go back to the bag. That's the 3rd hit in the game off Ed Whitson.
Carter did not get a good break on this ball and then slipped going after it. Over in the American League, believe me, this isn't to knock Joe Carter as a player. People simply said, Joe Carter's a wonderful player. He probably isn't a wonderful center fielder. He's not a Gold Glove type center fielder. He is capable of playing right or left, but on this club, they needed a center fielder.
Terry Kennedy fouls one right back at Norm Hitzkus, but Norm can't lean out. And like the fan earlier, could not make the play.
To have Manute Bull's arms.
Anytime Manute goes against the Los Angeles Lakers, and you can watch all the highlights on SportsCenter later tonight on ESPN. Robbie Thompson at first base with good speed, and Kennedy takes low and outside. 1 ball, 1 strike. To give a little credit to Joe Carter, though, this is the worst conditions of any National League, maybe American League ballpark. The wind is always whipping around. I've seen times where one flag has been going to the east, the other has been going to the west. I mean, it just circles around here, and in the day games, Norm, it's just impossible.
Well, and realize one other thing. Welcome to Candlestick Park, Joe Carter. Remember, he only had a cup of coffee with the Cubs before. He hasn't got a lot of experience in this park. I'm not so sure a lot of experience in this park does you any good.
Not at all. So many outfielders have said they'd like to take batting helmets out in the outfield to them. I don't know how many times you've seen a guy circle around for just a pop-up.
Yeah, but Steve, those same guys should wear batting helmets in a dome, too. I've seen some of those guys. They're in trouble no matter where they're playing the outfield, Steve.
Here's the 1-2 pitch to Terry Kennedy. Hangs in there. It stays the same. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Man on, man out. We're in the second. 1-1 ball game, and Roger Craig flashing the signs from the dugout to his catcher, or out to his base runner, Robbie Thompson. 55 degrees, swirling 20-mile-an-hour wind. And the fog, boy, it will roll in over Candlestick Park and settle in the outfield. About the 7th inning. Thompson's going. The pitch is popped up. Long run for Biff Roberts. Does he have room? No.
Giant crowd here at Candlestick tonight, literally. Hey, and meanwhile, up the highway, a sellout in Seattle. Incredible. The Mariners have sold out tonight for their opener against Oakland. First sellout in Seattle history.
I saw their game on Tuesday, and they are an exciting club. It's not just Ken Griffey Jr. as well. It's Harold Reynolds and a Pete O'Brien. And right now, the left side of their infield is rather damaged. But boy, they have some fine-looking young talent and some good young pitchers. But right now, the starting rotation is not intact. But I'll tell you what, 2-3 years, they're going to be a tough team to contend with. Ground ball, pitch, Whitson's glove, goes to Templeton. They will get the double play.
4 double plays in 2 innings.
And we remain tied 1-1. Now let's go to John Saunders at our ESPN Baseball Tonight studios.
Thanks a lot, Steve and Norm. You're all tied up at 1-1. Now, these guys haven't had much spring training. 3 weeks instead of 6, as a matter of fact, but you would never know it tonight. Great defensive plays all around both leagues. Let's start here. The Brewers and the Red Sox. Gary Sheffield, look at him go towards the dugout. Keeps his eye on the ball. Keeps his eye on the dugout. Great save by Don Baylor, their hitting coach, there to rob Jody Reed. The Cardinals and the Phils. John Tudor robbing Charlie Hayes right back at him. Tudor picks up the win tonight. The Yankees and the Rangers. Kunkel grounds to Flowers. It goes off his hand to Espinoza, to Mattingly for the routine out. As I said, only 3 weeks of spring training, but you would never know it. Let's check around the American League. Candy Maldonado with a 2-run home run and a 2-run double, as well as the Indians beat the White Sox 6-2. The Yankees get the win. Pascual Perez in his debut, 5 innings and 5 strikeouts. Rigetti gets the save. Dave Winfield had 2 hits. The Orioles and the Tigers. And it's final now. Detroit wins at 10-6. Cal Ripken with a good game there. He had a triple early on, but it wouldn't hold up. The Brewers and the Red Sox. Milwaukee's now up 9-5. Billy Bates stole home in the game. Billy Joe Robideau with a home run. The Blue Jays, George Bell, 3 for 4. He had home run number 2 in the game as they beat the Kansas City Royals. Jimmy Key, 6 innings, 4 strikeouts. Storm Davis loses in his debut as a member of the Kansas City Royals. He pitched in Oakland last year. The Oakland A's and the Seattle Mariners. The A's are up 5-0. It's only the bottom of the first. Ricky Henderson with a home run. 41st time in his career he has led off with a home run. Phelps with a 2-run single and Weiss with a 2-run double. The Twins and the Angels all tied up at 1-1. Brian Harper with an RBI. The Twins also picked up a player, an infielder, veteran infielder, Fred Manrique from the Texas Rangers. The trade, in for the trade, Jeff Satzinger goes over and an undisclosed amount of cash. So right now, let's get it back to the game you're watching on the West Coast. The San Diego Padres and the San Francisco Giants at Candlestick.
San Diego scoring 1 in the first. San Francisco coming back with 1 more in their half of the first, and we are locked at 1-1. Scott Garrelts going against Ed Whitson, and they will meet with Whitson at the plate and Garrelts on the mound. He's given up 3 hits, so too is Ed Whitson.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you can argue all you want about who the best hitter in Major League Baseball is, and statistically you can argue to it. You can also meet the worst hitter in the major leagues, Mr. Ed Whitson. $122 for everybody who's batted 400 times or more, and he probably gets a base hit.
Perfect timing, Norm. Take that, 122.
Thanks, Eddie.
And Will Clark with a grin on his face. He may have known how poorly Ed was, because Will has books on everybody. Not only as pitchers, what they throw, but on hitters and how they hit.
Well, he definitely didn't hit a strike, I'll say that. Ball was up about cap high. Whitson said, there's one I can hit.
So he stands in there, and boy, he looks confident over at first base. And here's Biff Roberts, the leadoff man.
He must be 4 or 5 feet off there.
Roberts squares to bunt, pitches up high, 1 ball, no strikes. And Brett Butler's playing Roberts the same way he played him when he tripled into left center his last time up.
Well, see, that's not bad, but your pitcher's got to pitch to that defense. You can't give Roberts a ball in the inner half of the plate and up where he can rip that ball to right center.
Squares to bunt, pops it up. Kennedy there, makes the play, goes to first. No. We almost had our 5th double play of this game. And Roberts, the one thing he wanted to do this year was improve his bunting. He did not that time by popping it up.
Pretty good form to bunt, just didn't get it down. Kennedy nearly doubles Whitson. Luckily, Ed Whitson's 4-foot lead pays off. He's able to get back.
He did that without any base running practice at all. But he got back there. He remembers the Little League days.
Squared well. Deadens the bat. Just gets it beneath the ball.
That takes us to Roberto Alomar. First time up, he grounded out to the second baseman, Robbie Thompson. And that play came with the infield in. And Roberts at third base, and the ground ball did not score Biff. He later had to come home on a Tony Gwynn single to left field. There's a pitch to Roberto. Takes the outside corner. 1 ball, 1 strike. Alomar hit only .256 versus left-handers last year, but .310 against right-handers. So much more stronger from this side.
Last year was Alomar's second year as the regular second baseman in San Diego. And realized last year he was still the youngest starting player in the major leagues.
Popped up, out of play. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Roberto Alomar. Ed Whitson is the man on first base. 1-1 tie we have here at Candlestick Park. Sellout crowd, 55,000. And it's laced to right field, base hit. Whitson will go to second and hold there as Kevin Bass up quickly with the baseball.
Scott Garrelts' location this inning has been very poor. Forget pitching to Roberts because you wanted to pitch him up. But to Whitson and to Alomar, the fastball has been up in the strike zone consistently. Now take a look at the location of this pitch. Hey, that's batting practice, kids. It doesn't matter if it's 87. It doesn't matter if it's 93 in miles an hour. Straight fastballs at the letter. There are a whole bunch of 300 hitters in the major leagues on that pitch.
And this is just the situation that Jack McKeon loves to be in. Tony Gwynn going to deep left field. Kevin Mitchell back to the warning track. Makes the catch. Whitson's tagging. He's going to third. They will challenge Mitchell's arm, and he's in there safely. So who is this speedster, Ed Whitson? They say he did not. He left the bag early at second base, and Ed Whitson's furious. Sandy Alomar goes out to argue, but maybe that's why he reached third so quickly. So we have another double play, and this one of the weird variety. San Diego and San Francisco remain tied at 1 as we head to the bottom of the third.
You know, Thrifty Car Rental has variety for everyone.
I can rent a new car from Thrifty and save money, money, money. Oh, yeah.
Enjoy luxury and savings. Rent a Chrysler New York or Landau with unlimited mileage. Just $37.95 a day. 48-hour advance reservation required.
Thrifty, a lot of car rental company. For incredibly little. Call 1-800-for-cars and away you go.
Yeah, 6 months ago. No callbacks, no sales. I hate Sprouts.
What was wrong?
Old information. No information. Sales reps couldn't make sense of anything. Then this guy from Microwave comes along, recommends Epson. That network system in Building B, all Epson. Computers, printers, laptops, the works. Microwave linked every sales rep. Gave us what we wanted. No Sprouts.
Microwave, authorized Epson dealer.
Craftsman lawn tractors are so tough, some are still going strong even after 22 years. So it doesn't surprise us that when Craftsman owners finally get a new tractor, they get another Craftsman. The only question is, when?
BF Goodrich TA Tires.
BF Goodrich TA Tires perform like great athletic shoes. They grab. They dig. They give you control.
BF Goodrich TA Tires.
BF Goodrich TA Tires, the athletic shoes for your car.
BF Goodrich TA Tires.
Home opener at Candlestick Park in San Francisco. 1-1 ball game. Steve Physiak along with Norm Hitzges tonight on ESPN. First week of Major League Baseball, and Ed Whitson, well, his mood has changed considerably after he was doubled up on a wild 7-5-4 double play to end the third.
You know what's too bad about that from a San Diego perspective is that was Jack Clark with 2 on and 2 out in an inning. Boy, you hate to lose opportunities for a banger like Clark.
And I was just about ready to say when he stepped up there, Tony Gwynn, perfect situation, runners in first and second, and you've got Gwynn, Clark, and Carter coming up to the plate. Here's Jose Uribe. He had 221 last year, hitting 250 to start 1990, and he takes a strike here. No balls and 1 strike. Uribe went home, lifted weights, put on about 15 pounds, wanted to be stronger this year, and he punches one of the first baseman, Jack Clark. Easy play, 1 out. And Norm, you were talking about the worst hitting pitchers. The guy stepping up right now is not a bad hitter.
No, problem is it got him on the DL last year. Scott Garrelts was in the middle of a good year and then hurt himself running out a triple. Very few pitchers have that problem in baseball, getting hurt running out a triple.
Pulled a hamstring, went on the DL for 2 weeks, late June, first 10 days of July, and here he is, and there's a swing and a miss. He had a game in spring training this year where he knocked in all the team's runs and pitched the victory. It was almost like one of those little league games where the best player's a pitcher. You know, the pitcher's hitting the cleanup spot, and boy, he just wailed on the opposition. He waves at this Ed Whitson delivery, and he's in the hole 0-2.
Come on, no, Whitson's violating the rules of the fraternity. Garrelts gives him a high fastball to hit, and Whitson's dropping down sidearm, throwing him breaking balls. The fraternity will hear about this.
Here's the 0-2 to Scott Garrelts. Takes high. Norm, I used to work with Joe Nuxall, one of the outstanding hitting pitchers, and he would hate that. He said, hey, this is the guy you got to just throw heat to. Swing and a miss, and Ed Whitson has his second strikeout of the night.
And we're going to have our first half inning without a double play.
Finally, we have 5 double plays so far.
And we've had some weird ones. Lined into 1, appealed into 1, grounded into 2.
That takes us back to the top of the order, and Brett Butler, first time up, singled up the middle, came around to score on the Will Clark double play. And again, they play him in at third. Brett Butler, one of the best bunters in all of baseball. Here's the first delivery from Ed Whitson in there for strike one. As a matter of fact, when he was with Atlanta, came up, he always bunted in the minor leagues, but wasn't that successful. Then came up, and Bob Watson was the coach at Atlanta. And somebody asked him, could Brett Butler, he takes and it misses, and it's 1 ball and 1 strike. But Bob Watson was asked, can Brett Butler ever hit 300? He said, if he bunts, he will. Brett Butler was traded to Cleveland, started bunting, and had a .311 average with 22 bunts in 1 season. Bunt base hits.
You know, you kind of wonder how good Brett Butler would have been if he'd played his career on artificial surface. He's definitely an artificial surface player. He's a bunt, slash, and run type of player. Very, very conducive to that surface. And yet he's played in Atlanta, Cleveland, and San Francisco, all grass fields in his career. On the other hand, given the talk about artificial surface and that it may wear on your legs, maybe for a speedball like Butler, he's better on grass for the longevity of his career.
Outside corner, strike 3, 2 strikeouts in the inning for Ed Whitson. And Butler does not agree with the call from Doug Harvey. But still, it's a 1-1 ball game, San Diego and San Francisco.
We're measuring consumer response to the new Suzuki Swift 4-door sedan. Do not attempt to adjust your set. The new Swift has more front legroom than this Rolls-Royce. More front headroom than this Mercedes-Benz. Gets better gas mileage than this Volkswagen. Starting at less than $7,400, the Swift costs less than this child's toy. This concludes our test. For complete results, see the Suzuki dealer nearest you.
The real test of a power mower is starting it easily on the first pull. That's why Sears is putting 100 Craftsman Eagle One mowers on the line. Look at that. 99 first pull starts out of 100. No wonder there are more Craftsmen on the job than any other brand.
Life's full of simple pleasures, like the comfort of Levi's jeans. Or had you forgotten?
Dutch Boy is now at Sears at introductory sale prices. Get the look with Dutch Boy satin finish interior or exterior paint. But hurry in because these special prices are here through Saturday only.
Our air conditioning? Not a day of trouble ever. Must be a good one.
Must be a Lennox.
Must be.
Lennox Heating and Air Conditioning. Since 1895. Must be a Lennox.
Attaboy, Dave.
One ball game with a sellout crowd here at Candlestick Park in San Francisco. Padres scored in the first. Giants came back bottom of the first to lock it up. And here it's Jack Clark, and listen to the boos this gentleman gets. Why, you might ask? He started his career here, and he wanted out. He did not like the wins. He did not like the way his average was settling. He figured he could hit a lot more home runs elsewhere. So he went to St. Louis and then on to New York, where he really disliked the situation, and now settles in San Diego. And he goes after Scott Garrett's pitch. It was way upstairs, and he is in the hole, 0-2. Ground ball, Robbie Thompson. 1 out.
Clark got a pretty good pitch to hit considering it was 0-2, albeit away from him. They got pretty good wood on the ball. Thing is, Clark is not a pull hitter. Or he's not a spray hitter. Jack Clark pulls everything. When he's hitting the ball hard, he hits it left and left center. If you get Jack Clark feeling for the ball and punching it right side, you've got Jack Clark basically.
That takes us to Joe Carter, his first time up. He lined into a double play to Jose Uribe with 2 on. And Uribe double up the man at second base. Here's the pitch, and he slams it into left field. So he's hit the ball hard twice to start this game. And there's 1 on with 1 out.
Now you're going to get to see another phase of Joe Carter's game. He's a monster-sized player. This guy's 6'4", 6'5", 225, 230 pounds. Big body, NFL linebacker size, but he can really scoot. In fact, if you want a shocking note, if Carter would hit 4th on this team instead of Jack Clark, the 4 people at the top of the Padre order stole more bases than the 4 people at the top of the Cardinals order last year.
Wow.
You think of the Cardinals as a flyer, and yet this team has comparable functional speed to the Cardinals and a lot more power.
You're right with Bip Roberts, Roberto Alomar, Tony Gwynn. Very, very aggressive base runners. Joe Carter was not that way necessarily in Cleveland, though, and there's a swing and a miss by Fred Lynn. Lynn, his first time up, grounded out to Will Clark at first base.
Well, in the National League, where runs are a little harder to come by, and managers tend to be a little more aggressive, will play more for a run, you may see Carter's functional speed being brought more into play.
He's not going, and the pitch is outside. 2-1.
In fact, that's foursome. Realizing, of course, as you pointed out before, Bip Roberts was a part-time player. Roberts, Gwynn, Alomar, and Carter, between them, stole 116 bases last year. That's a bunch of stolen bases.
Here's the 2-1 pitch with Carter going, grounded foul. And with that big hole in between second and first base, and Will Clark holding on Joe Carter, and the runner moving, and the hit and run on, my goodness, he wanted a pitch maybe on the outside corner. Instead, it came inside, and Lynn almost got to do exactly what he wanted to do, pull it in that hole. Thompson getting the information at second base from his manager, Roger Craig, just relayed it to Jose Uribe. Clark comes off the bag, and the pitch, ground ball, base hit right field. We'll get a check of Kevin Bass's arm. Here's the throw. It will be not in time. Runners at the corners, only one out here in the 4th inning of a 1-1 ball game.
There's that functional speed of Carter. First to third on a base hit to right field. San Diego is going to really like Joe Carter.
Some smart hitting by Fred Lynn as well.
That hole that you pointed out, through the wickets of Carter and on the way to right field. That hole enlarged over there because Clark had to hold on, and Lynn shoots it right through there. Now the Padres' problem of last year, getting runners home. This club was terrible getting runners home last year.
Benito Santiago standing in there. Runners at the corners of Benito. Flails and pops it foul. He's in the hole, 0-1.
For the year, the Padres hit .230 with runners in scoring position last year. When it was 2 outs and runners in scoring position, .204. The worst in the major league since 1975.
The 0-1 pitch. Pop foul again, 0-2.
Now, Santiago's got to realize why he's up there. He's got to shorten the swing. He's got to make contact. Now he becomes a defensive hitter. Fine making out, but make sure to get that runner home.
Takes high. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Infield comes in just a few steps, playing at double play depth. We've already had 5 double plays in this game. What the heck? Let's try and set a record. Carter at third. Fred Lynn at first. 1 out. Tie ball game at Candlestick Park. Giants home opener. And here's the 1-2 to Santiago. And dug out nicely by Terry Kennedy.
Well, Garrelts has gone to, once he's gotten ahead, he's gone to 2 pitches that may have each been purpose pitches. He wasted the fastball up. Then he moves off the outside corner. Now, if that's a pattern, perhaps this is the pitch he's trying to set up, and perhaps the pitch he wants to set up is bust Santiago on the hands. Let's see.
It's a ground ball, Uribe. They'll go Robbie Thompson, 1 on to first. No, and a run scores, and San Diego takes a 2-1 lead.
A rarity in the world of baseball. A catcher who can really run. And Santiago can really run for a big man. And that speed and the speed of Carter, the ability to go first to third on the ball to right field, becomes a run for San Diego. A run in a tough ball game. And the Giants turn this about as well as you can turn it. Easily beaten, as a matter of fact.
You know, in the best year that he had, his rookie year when he hit 300 with 18 home runs and 79 RBIs, he also had 21 stolen bases.
He's been double-figure steals 3 years in a row. You know, this isn't a bad spot to steal, really, when you think of it. You've got the lead, and if you get thrown out, Templeton leads off next inning, and if he should get on, your pitcher then bunts him up. So it's a pretty good spot for the Padres to think steal, and Garrelts quick pitches him.
I don't think there are any better teams in the National League that are as good at the slide step than San Diego and San Francisco. Roger Craig, who is a former pitcher himself, is the manager, and his pitching coach Norm Sherry teaches it. And Pat Dobson, he had everybody using that slide step. And there it is, and there's a line drive. Brett Butler back in center. He's there, and that does it for San Diego. But they come up with a run and take a 2-1 lead over the Giants.
Starlight, star bright, first star I see tonight. Wish I may, wish I might, have the wish I wish tonight.
The Starlight Foundation grants hundreds of wishes to seriously ill children. And now you can help Michelob make more wishes come true. Just look for this display.
Have the wish I wish tonight.
It's powerful. It's 110% protection. Speed Stick deodorant, made just for a man. It has no alcohol to evaporate. Its protection doesn't fade. Speed Stick, 110% protection.
One of nature's perfect designs is the secret of its performance. The new Copeland Compliance Scroll air conditioning compressor. Its spiral compression cycle is quiet, constant, and energy efficient. Which is why the Rheem Classic Series delivers quiet, constant, and energy-efficient cooling. Advanced technology by Rheem and Copeland. The perfect design for cooling your space.
If you find that 2 hours of mowing your lawn feels like this, test ride the new Honda Hydrostatic Transmission Lawn Tractor and put the old tractor out to pasture.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Give me a break. Give me a break. Break me off the beat of that bitch cat bar. Give me a break. Give me a break. Break me off the beat of that bitch cat bar. Got a chocolate crispy taste gonna make your day. That's why wherever you go, you hear the people say, give me a break. Give me a break. Break me off the beat of that Kit Kat bar.
2-1 ball game. San Diego has the lead as San Francisco steps to the plate. Kevin Bass, Will Clark, Kevin Mitchell here in inning number 4 for the Giants. And Norm Hitzges, you have to feel a little uncomfortable here. You remember when the A's played the Giants last week and it was on ESPN? We had a little earthquake, and then the next day with the A's playing again, they had another aftershock, and both came in the first inning. Well, we got the first inning out of the way, and we got the A's out of here. So maybe you're resting a little more comfortably.
Tell you what, I must have an insensitive body. I didn't even feel it. Nobody in our booth felt it. I went home the next day, picked the paper, and I said, a quake at the Giants game?
Kevin Bass, ground ball, second base. Quick play, 1 out. Let's now go to John Saunders in our ESPN Baseball Tonight studios.
Thanks, Steve and Norm. Earlier tonight, the Dodgers and the Astros, and Mike Socia at the plate facing Danny Darwin. Catcher waits on it. It is right up there near his eyes, and he blasts this one out to right center field. Mike Morgan goes 8 2/3. Eddie Murray had 2 runs batted in. Back to you.
Mike Socia got all of that one.
Ugly start for the Astros.
Yes, it is. Danny Darwin. They had great middle relief last year, and it's not doing anything this year.
Well, let's face it, the Astros always depend on winning big at home. And Cincinnati marches right in there and sweeps them out. Now the Dodgers go in there and take one. That's not a good sign for the Astros.
Here in San Francisco, 2-1, San Diego's the lead. Here's the pitch to Will Clark. He slams one of the second baseman, Alomar, up quickly, tosses out Clark. He's 0 for 2, and that takes us to Kevin Mitchell.
Meanwhile, don't look now, but Eddie Whitson, after a very shaky start, back-to-back singles to Butler and Bass to start this game, since then has faced 10 hitters and allowed 1 base hit. And that guy who got the base hit, Robbie Thompson, is the only guy to get the ball out of the infield since the first 2 hitters of the game.
And Whitson always tough on San Francisco. As a matter of fact, last time Gereltz and Whitson locked heads, I'll tell you what, it was Gereltz had to throw a shutout to beat this guy. Beat him 1-0. Pitch to Kevin Mitchell. Low and in the dirt. Santiago wants to go out and talk with Ed about this gentleman at the plate. And you know, you did the game A's Giants last week, and I remember watching that ball game, and Norm, you saying that Kevin hurt his wrist in batting practice, and there was some question mark whether he would start the season, but here he is.
Yeah, he came back a couple innings in the game with a small cast on his arm.
And he slams one back up the middle, and that wrist is feeling comfortable because he lined hard to the shortstop his first time up and lines hard up the middle here with 2 outs in the 4th. Whitson's been popped for 4 hits. Gereltz for 7. San Diego leads 2-1, and there's that vicious swing by Kevin Mitchell.
What a body on this guy.
He is a funny guy. You know, Will Clark only uses 1 bat. Only 1 kind. This guy, Kevin Mitchell, just goes after anyone he can. He was hitting with Rick Russell's bat last year and Robbie Thompson. Didn't matter. Whatever felt comfortable at the time. If there was Fred Flintstone's War Club on the side, he would have grabbed it and hit a home run.
Well, there were some hits left in Russell's bat.
Sure was. A lot of them. Here's Matt Williams. Slams one foul just by Bill Fahey, the third base coach for San Francisco.
Matty Williams has not figured out Eddie Whitson yet in his major league career. Entering the batter's box this time, he's faced him 6 times. He's drawn the collar, and 3 of the 6 are strikeouts.
And he has been behind in the count both times in this game, 0-2.
Well, the problem is once Whitson gets you behind, he can use all that funny stuff. Drop down on you, he can go to the palm ball, he can go to the curve ball. Last time 0-2, he threw a fastball up around the top of the cap, and Williams saw fastball and leaped out at it.
Figured that may be the last one I'll see this at bat. Mitchell with the lead at first base, 2 outs in the pitch. Line drive, base hit right field. Mitchell makes the turn at second, holds on there, and Gwynn has a great arm and tries to throw behind Kevin Mitchell. So 2 outs, 2 on, and pretty hitting by Matt Williams.
Matt Williams started hitting the day he got to spring training and hasn't stopped yet. A wonderful spring training. Hit over 500 in Arizona. Has started the season hitting over 300 now through 4 games. And at last, Matt Williams going the other way with the ball on the outside corner, a breaking ball. My goodness, you'd have never seen that a year ago at this time.
Oh, he had 130 in April. And there's Robbie Thompson lacing one hard left field. Base hit. Here comes Mitchell to tie the game. Williams around third to hold on there. It is a double for Robbie Thompson. It's all happened with 2 outs in the inning. Kevin Bass, Will Clark grounded out, but Mitchell, Williams, Thompson back-to-back base hits.
Fred Lynn plays this ball down the left field line, and Fred takes a little bit of a chance here. As Williams steams for third, Lynn throws to second base. It's a little bit surprising the Giants didn't decide to come home with Matt Williams. Kind of a strange choice by Freddie Lynn to go for the man at second. Yeah. Now, think Terry Kennedy's going to get the hit here? No.
Not at all.
No,
Now with Jose Uribe coming up. Fred Lynn, though, did look like he glanced and may have seen Bill Fahey with the hold sign at third, because Fahey had the arms up very, very early.
Boy, you still take a chance in that case, though, because Williams could have kept coming at that point.
And listen to the crowd. They're chanting, Uribe. He is a fan favorite. Bases loaded. 2 outs. Tie game at 2-2. And we told you at the beginning of this game, last year's champs may be against this year's champs. The critics' choice is San Diego.
You know, Uribe didn't hit for much of an average last year, but he did well in situations like this. Score tied, runners in scoring position, 10 for 23. That's pretty impressive.
Upstairs, ball 1. Whitson has excellent control. Again, he only walked 48 in 227 innings last year. Williams at third. Thompson at second. Kennedy at first. In there for a strike. It's 1-1. And Candlestick Park can really get rocking and rolling. And you talk about this is the city that knows how, very sophisticated. They have some people in these stands who come out here and brave the temperatures, and they can really jump around. Up there, 2-1.
Here's your action pitch. If you're Uribe, you sit on this pitch. You know Whitson, a control pitcher, wants to throw this ball over the plate. This is your action pitch right here.
Misses outside, 3-1. And now Uribe can be looking for the fastball. And San Diego did not allow a grand slam all last year. Uribe, not a power hitter, only had 1 last year, but beefed up in the offseason. Says he's stronger. Here's the pitch. He hits it hard into left field, but right at Fred Lynn. Backs up a couple of steps, makes the catch, and that will do it for San Francisco. They load the bases with 2 outs. They score a run to tie the game with San Diego at 2.
Beautiful Peerless faucets are guaranteed for as long as you own your home. You see, they're backed by the total faucet and finish warranty. It protects all the parts and the finish of your faucet, and no other faucet warranty can beat it. In other words, the Peerless Total Faucet and Finish Warranty really holds water. Solid, dependable, Peerless do-it-yourself faucets. They're backed well because they're built well.
I used pressure-treated lumber, and I still have $800 in water damage. How come?
Even treated wood needs Thompson's Water Seal protection.
This patio was supposed to last for years. Now we have $1,200 in damage. Why?
Your concrete wasn't protected with Thompson's Water Seal. Thompson's penetrates into wood, brick, or concrete to form a barrier water can't get past, even when driven by 98-mile-per-hour winds.
Let it rain. This time I used Thompson's, a great defense against repair expense.
Thompson's, the first name in lasting protection.
BF Goodrich TA tires perform like great athletic shoes. They grab. They dig. They give you control.
BF Goodrich TA tires.
BF Goodrich TA tires, the athletic shoes for your car.
BF Goodrich TA tires.
This Yardman mower has all the quality features of this high-price mower, except one. The high price. Yardman. Everything the high-price mowers have, except the high price.
Top of the 5th we go. San Diego, San Francisco tied at 2. Hey, it's a chance to tune into ESPN tomorrow night for Saturday Night Thunder. Live auto racing returns to ESPN featuring the USAC Midgets at Ascot Park in California. That's Saturday Night Thunder, live at 9 o'clock Eastern tomorrow night on ESPN. Scott Geralt's back to the mound working his 5th inning, and he faces Ed Whitson. And he throws strike 1 to him, but Ed got a base hit off of him his first time up. Career hitter 122. Here's the pitch. Checks his swing. It's 2 balls and no strikes. Ooh, this is the most feared hitter in the lineup, huh?
No more high fastballs, Eddie. We're going with sliders, splitters. Look at this.
A little flare. In comes Mitchell. He's there. He makes the catch, 1 out. John Saunders has an update on baseball. What's happening around the major leagues?
Well, Jim Abbott, an incredible athlete out of the University of Michigan, he used to play football as well. Watch him switch glove, make the play, thinks about going to first on Larkin, but he runs down Brian Harper by himself. Doesn't even make the toss, gets him and gets the out. They lead 4-2. Let's get it back to Stephen Norm in San Francisco.
Padres, San Francisco tied at 2, but that California pitching staff looking brilliant. We had a look at Jim Abbott. They had a no-hitter the other day with Langston going against his old mates. Chuck Finley on ESPN on Tuesday night was just brilliant. And California may be challenging Oakland and Kansas City in the American League West this year. Boy, both Western races should be good ones.
What pitching over in the American League West, though? What staffs?
Here's the 2-0. Leadoff man, Biff Roberts. Count run 3 balls and no strikes to Biff. He's 1 for 2 in the ball game, tripled and scored in the first. Gurriel's looking for the strike zone and does not. Oh, he does that time, and Biff Roberts had already tossed the bat away, and Doug Harvey, the veteran, said, "Don't show me up. I hadn't made the call yet." 3-1.
Well, I can see how Biff would throw it aside. That ball looked high.
This time it misses, and Biff tosses the bat away and doesn't have to go get it. So he's on with 1 out. So excellent speed at first base.
And a left-hand hitter. This is a lineup just built to run and move runners. You got a terrific speed ball at the top of it, a guy who can handle a bat, hit left-handed here behind him against the right-hand pitcher. Then you got a Gwynn, Clark, and Carter trifecta. That's a fine lineup for San Diego. And then you've still got a bat as good as Santiago's down deep in this lineup.
Roberts has a good lead at first base. Gurriel's with the move over. Biff not going, and the pitch on the outside corner, strike 1 to Roberto Alomar. Alomar 1 for 2 in the game, singled to right field his last time up.
Biff stolen as many as 50 in a season in the minor leagues while he was a Pirate farmhand. San Diego drafted him, major league draft from the Pirates, like 4 years ago.
And he is a little guy over at first base. As a matter of fact, Greg Booker, one of his old teammates, said, "Hey, we got baked potatoes in North Carolina bigger than that fella." But he makes things go for San Diego, and he has tonight. Not going here, and the pitch was missing outside. 1 ball, 1 strike. Jack McKeon very, very unsure what Roger Craig will do, because he will pitch out in the strangest of situations. But very successful. No manager controls a game like Roger Craig and Whitey Herzog. 2-2 ball game, San Francisco and San Diego. Home opener for the San Francisco Giants. There it goes. Here's the pitch, foul off out of play. It's 1 ball, 2 strikes. And now the favor goes in Roger Craig's. He can do anything he wants. He can pitch out.
Well, the Giants guessed right and the Padres guessed wrong there. Padres went hit and run. The Giants guessed and covered second base with the second baseman there. So that when Alomar tried to hit the ball on the outside, and Gurriel's put the ball in the right spot, outside corner, Alomar slapped it towards short. The shortstop was standing there.
They're going home, and there goes Roberts. The pitch out. Kennedy had a tough time getting it out of his glove, and Roberts beats it easily. And the count runs even on Roberto Alomar. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Kennedy just double clutches in the glove. Roberts in fairly easily, though Kennedy still made that a pretty close play. There's the double clutch. Roberts is out if Kennedy doesn't have to double clutch.
So Biff at second base. Only one out. Roberto Alomar grounds it foul. Count remains 2 balls and 2 strikes. Alomar last year only drove home 56, but he hit in that 2 spot. And until Biff arrived, they really did not have a fine leadoff man. Matter of fact, manager Jack McKeon wanted to make Paliarulo the third baseman. He never was able to respond. Biff Roberts had to go over play third. Here's a pitch. Swing and a miss, and Scott Gorelts gets the strikeout, but was the ball tipped by Alomar? Yes, it was. So no strikeout. It stays at 2-2. Kennedy unable to hold on to that foul tip.
Here's another inning in which the Padres' speed is playing a part. It played a part last inning, and here it comes again.
Ground ball, first base side. Will Clark will take it easily. Roberts goes to third. 2 outs now.
Yeah, but 2 outs, and Tony Gwynn, last year in the major leagues, one player got 30 or more hits against another team twice, all year, all hitters. Tony Gwynn got 30 hits against the Giants, and Tony Gwynn got 31 hits against the Astros. The only player in either league to get 30 or more hits against an opponent. He did it twice last year. Can you
61 hits against two teams?
Imagine how
that's obscene.
Tired the Giants got of this guy.
Tony takes high for ball 1.
30 for 71 last year. Is that amazing?
Oh, he just worked over San Francisco. And I remember the final series, Clark had a 2 percentage point edge on Tony, and Tony just lit it up, and Clark just praised him after the game. Misses outside, 2 balls and no strikes. Well, and they may put him on here. Roger Craig will do that. He feels that maybe Clark has more holes to pitch to than Tony Gwynn, or just not give him a great pitch to hit. It'll be Gorelt's pitch. Here's the 2-0. Misses high, 3-0.
This is the intentional walk to Captain Video. Tony Gwynn carries his VCR wherever he goes with it. He's got about 2,500 of his major league at-bats on tape at his home.
And there's the intentional pass, and Kennedy has to go to his knee to collect it from Gorelts. Oh, man, that stops a few hearts in the San Francisco dugout, most notably Roger Craig and pitching coach Norm Sherry. And Kennedy pops it in the glove of Scott Gorelts. This is a pitch out intentionally past Tony Gwynn.
Look at this.
Terry go, what are you doing? You look like a hockey goalie. Tomorrow it'll say at-bats, runs, and saves.
Yes.
For catcher Terry Kennedy. Here's runners at the corners, 2 outs.
Situation the Padres love. They're banger up.
Clark with a huge swing. He was trying to hit it to Oakland that time.
See, the beauty of Jack Clark isn't that he'll bloop one somewhere in this situation. It's that on this swing, he'll hit one to downtown, and the game breaks open.
Here's the 0-1. Ooh, inside. The outside breaking pitch, and he caught Clark leaning over the plate, so he comes back with the high heat this time, and it's 1-1.
Running fastball. Actually, Clark's swoon made it look closer than it was.
Fouls it back to the screen. Man, does he go after it.
Boy,
he's one of those hitters who you'll stop what you're doing. You won't go to the men's room. You won't go get a hot dog when you know Jack Clark's coming up, because you want to watch every single, not at bat, but every single plate appearance where he swings or misses or just checks his swing. Runner going. Here's the pitch. Missing outside, and Tony Gwynn easily to second base. So the count goes 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs.
The pitch before last, Scott Gorelts really got away with one. He threw a fastball out over the middle of the plate, and Clark just simply failed to time that baby.
The 2-2 pitch, and Clark swings ground ball down the line, but foul.
Again, Scott Gorelts with the heat up in the strike zone. Now, that may be a way to get Jack Clark. That may also be a way to get down 5-2 in this game.
He's a good two-strike hitter. Brett Butler, Giants center fielder, was saying a lot of people call Jack Clark a great fastball hitter. He says, I think he's one of the best breaking ball pitchers in baseball. Better with 2 strikes. Here is the pitch, and it is a ground ball off the plate. So it will be, well, they're saying 2 balls and 2 strikes. One of the best breaking ball hitters, I should say.
Clark last year, you saw the graphic on the enormous number of walks and strikeouts. You may see less of each this year because each total mounted because pitchers were trying to work around Clark. With Carter behind him this year, you probably won't see as many walks or strikeouts for Clark.
First base is open. Here's the pitch. He throws his bat at it and swings and misses. But the bat hit the baseball. Kennedy could not come up with it. Remains at 2-2. Mark Letton comes out of the Giants dugout to check with Terry Kennedy because that bat may have skipped off his right hand. I'm sure it was probably the ball after he went after the foul tip.
Let's take a look at it. Yep. Actually, the ball gets right through his hands, it appears, and catches him in the side by the chest protector, rib cage area.
2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. We're in the 5th inning of a 2-2 ball game. Misses inside, and it's gone full.
See, if Clark gets a pitch to hit this time at bat, it's because of the guy standing on the on-base circle. This is a perfect spot where last year you pitch around Jack Clark. You don't fiddle with him at all. But this year you got to worry about Joe Carter behind him.
Way high and inside, and Clark is on. The bases are loaded, and here comes Joe Carter. And Jack with a grin on his face. He lives nearby. Lives in Blackhawk in the Bay Area.
Giants with action in their pen. That's Atlee Hammaker. Now, Hammaker is probably getting ready to pitch to Fred Lynn. If Scott Gereltz doesn't get out of this inning with Carter, obviously a run or more scores, Gereltz probably doesn't survive the inning, and Hammaker pitches to Lynn.
Well, here's Joe Carter. He's hit the ball hard twice, and he takes outside.
Uh-oh. Scott Gereltz does not want to get behind here and have to come in to Joe Carter with a fastball.
Carter came into this game hitting .067, but his last base hit beat the Dodgers. Here's the pitch. Stays upstairs. 2-0.
He tried the slider, and that didn't work. Now you got the all-time question for a manager. Do you tell a banger like Carter to take a pitch? Gereltz is wild. It seems to figure that he should. But what if he grooves this ball to Carter?
3 walks in the inning, and out comes Roger Craig. And we may see the change right here with the count 2-0. Well, he may just talk with Scott Gereltz. You've got a right-hander against a right-hander. Hammaker is excellent against left-handed hitters. Not so much against right-handers as you might imagine. And there he is, the guy they're trying to replace Craig Lefferts with.
Tell you what, that looks like a political convention on the mound. There's enough people out there to make a party. Everybody joined in. Carter, as you saw graphically just a moment ago, did not do well in a bases-loaded situation last year with the Indians. But again, realize that Carter, with the Indians, was not in a position where he had a good guy being behind him in the lineup.
Inside, misses. 3-0. So Gereltz, who has already walked 3 in the inning, in danger of walking Joe Carter and bringing in the go-ahead run. This may be his last pitch of the game. Here's the 3-0 pitch to Joe Carter. In there. 3 balls, 1 strike. 2 outs. Bases loaded at Candlestick Park for the home opener.
Manager Physiak, do you turn Carter loose here?
Yes, I do. He's hitting in my 5 spot. He's got to prove to me, and he hits a ground ball. Matt Williams goes to second to get the force and get Gereltz out of the inning. So Geraltz with some clutch pitching here. We remain tied at 2. Let's now go to John Saunders at our ESPN Baseball Tonight studios.
Thanks a lot, Stephen Norton. Joe Carter continues to struggle in the National League, but it is early. Let's look elsewhere down the freeway in Anaheim, California. The Angels are hosting the Minnesota Twins, and Lance Parrish, the catcher, just laces this one. A 2-run home run as it stays fair inside the seats. The bottom of the 5th inning, California leading the game 4-2 for Jim Abbott. I said earlier that spring training, it was short, only 3 weeks, and it hadn't affected anyone. At least it didn't look that way as we looked at some outstanding plays. Well, apparently it may have affected some of the players around the major leagues, including some of the pitchers like Philly reliever Chuck McElroy, who throws this one into center field. Brunansky even stayed where he was. John Mitchell on the intentional walk, can't find his catcher, throws it away. Mike Heath goes to third base, and Dan Schatzeder of Houston tries the pickoff play. Mike Morgan of the Dodgers, this one ends up in center field. The runner advanced over to third base. Let's take a look at some other scores, starting with the Mets and the Expos. It took 10, but they win at 4-1. Chicago, a 2-0 winner over Pittsburgh. Ryan Sandberg with a 2-run home run. He had 3 hits in the game. The Cardinals blow away the Phillies 11-0. Todd Zeile with a 2-run home run. He had 4 runs batted in. The Cardinals with 7 runs in the 9th inning. The Reds over the Braves 5-2. Chris Sabo with a leadoff home run in the 1st. He also had a home run in the 9th, 2 on the game. Murphy with a 2-run home run. Let's get it back to Steve and Norm, who are standing by in the Bay Area, as the Dodgers were also a winner over Houston. 6-1 was that final. It's 2-2 where you are.
Opening night in San Francisco. Bottom of the 5th inning we go. San Diego and San Francisco locked in a 2-2 tie, but Scott Geraltz has seen his last action. He went 5 innings, gave up 2 runs and 7 hits, and now manager Roger Craig will make a change and bring Mike Laga in to pinch hit for Scott Geraltz, and we will see Atlee Hammaker when the Giants take the field in their half of the 6th. There's Mike Laga, last season, AAA, and he had some pretty good timely hits for San Francisco when he was called up. Most notably, Norm, the game I remember most was when the Giants came back from 8-0 deficit to beat the Cincinnati Reds at Riverfront Stadium, and he came up with the game-winning hit.
That's the one where Roger Craig basically said, well, we're far behind in this. I'm going to rest all the starters for the last few innings, put the shock troops in, and the Shockers rally to win the game.
Or did they ever? Well, Geraltz threw 91 pitches, 33 in the 5th inning. Here's Mike Laga. Only man to ever hit a baseball out of Busch Memorial Stadium in St. Louis. It was foul, though, but it was a long foul.
This is the perpetual arrival first baseman. The Tigers thought he'd arrive, and the Cardinals thought he'd arrive. He's got enormous power. Perfect pinch hitter in this situation. Middle of the game where a swing can put you up. This is a good spot to use Laga.
And they really play him to pull, and he pulls it, but he pops it up on the infield. Jack Clark has the play. 1 down.
This is likely also to be Ed Whitson's final inning. He hits 4th next inning. And should anyone get on, 5 would probably be enough for Whitson, who threw a lot of pitches last inning. If there's any kind of a pitch count limit for Ed Whitson, he's probably pressing it right now because it took a long time for him to wiggle out of the bottom of the 4th.
Well, he faces Brett Butler here. Brett, with a base hit in the 1st inning, came around to score on the double play ball by Will Clark. Butler singled, Bass followed with a base hit, runners in the corners. Clark grounded to a double play, but Brett scored the 1st run for San Francisco. We are tied at 2, bottom of the 5th inning. And again, the 3rd baseman, Biff Roberts, really pulling in. Butler takes high and outside. Ball 1. Ground ball, second baseman Alomar. Easy play, 2 outs.
And we're 1 out away from having a 1-2-3 inning. This is the 10th half inning of this game, and only once have they gone down in order.
And Norm, next Friday night, ESPN has more baseball action coming your way as the Astros visit the LA Dodgers. Some of you will see the Seattle Mariners take on the defending world champion Oakland A's. That's next Friday night, 10:30 Eastern Time on ESPN. Tied at 2 here in San Francisco. Ed Whitson will now face Kevin Bass. 2 outs, nobody on. Drops down again, 3/4, and throws a strike.
This strong inning by Whitson may change the mind of Jack McKeon. next half inning, where Whitson's due to hit 4.
In contrast, Garrett's through 91.
62 isn't a lot for Eddie. Now you figure if he gets out of this inning at 65, 66, 80 or so would be a limit. He could conceivably go another inning or maybe 2 if he's economical with his pitches.
Here's the 1-1 again. He drops down sidearm and throws a strike that's fouled off. It's 1 ball and 2 strikes. Bass steps out of the batting box and talks to himself. I think he did not like his swing that time. Lee Smith's dropping down and striking people out these days. Change, misses. 2-2.
When the Giants got Kevin Bass, they got a guy when healthy. He's ultra consistent. And an injury last year that cost him a couple of months. The 3 years before that, he played 157 games each year for the Astros.
And he hits it in the air and deep to center, but Joe Carter will have the play. And it's a 1-2-3 inning for Ed Whitson, his first since the 3rd. And we head to the 6th inning, tied at 2.
Did you hear about it? A big new baseball video that covers all of the 1980s. It's got everything.
Hi, I'm Jack Brickhouse, and I've just seen one of the best baseball videos ever produced. Baseball in the 80s. You from the Sporting News. An entire decade of headline-making, record-breaking baseball action and excitement. Free with your paid subscription to the Sporting News. America's most authoritative, most complete sports weekly, bringing fans unbeatable baseball coverage for over 100 years. Call now to have the Sporting News delivered right to your mailbox every week at a big 46% saving off the cover price. Plus this full-hour video cassette of the decade, Baseball in the 80s, yours free.
Call 1-800-638-1200. Get your free video with 25 issues of the Sporting News for 3 payments of just $9.96. Save 46% off the cover price. Call now 1-800-638-1200. That's 1-800-638-1200.
If you like sports, you can win $100 right now in your home. Just go to the phone and dial this number, Kelly's Phone Quiz. Use your push buttons to answer 9 sports trivia questions, and we'll pay you $100. Simple to do and a lot of fun. You can even select your favorite sports category.
Call now. Answer 9 questions correctly with your push-button phone and win $100. 1-900-246-KELLY. $1.50 first minute, 75 cents additional minute.
Call now and let your fingers win you $100.
ESPN Baseball Tonight, brought to you by Michelob Dry. Bold taste with no aftertaste. Mick Dry refreshes completely. And by BF Goodrich TA Tires, the athletic shoes for your car.
Adley Hammaker, the new Giants pitcher, a left-hander, 32 years old, 6'2", 200. Last year he went 6-6 with a 3.76 earned run average. And this is the gentleman with the score tied 2-2 that the Giants want to see hold this game. He is the heir to Craig Lefferts, who had 20 saves last year, and he wants to be their left-handed setup guy for Steve Bedrosian. And we must tell you right now that Steve Bedrosian is not with the club this evening because his son, his second son, Cody, was diagnosed this morning with leukemia. And visiting with Brett Butler, who is his next-door neighbor in Atlanta, Georgia, his wife Evelyn called him this morning and told him the situation, and he said, you know, obviously it's very, very tragic, but there is good news in that it is with the bone, not with the blood. And here is a smash by Fred Lynn into center field, and Butler comes on to make the catch. But Butler wanted to send the prayers from San Francisco Giants and from ESPN as well to Steve Bedrosian and his family. Well, this copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of Major League Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of Major League Baseball. 2-2 ball game, San Francisco and San Diego. Benito Santiago steps to the plate with 1 out here in inning number 6. Ground ball, Uribe. Bobbles it. Santiago can run, but Uribe regathers himself in time and throws him out 2 down.
Hammaker doesn't look it through the first two hitters here, but this is by far the biggest problem team for Hammaker, as you see Uribe stay with it and get Santiago. In his National League career, Hammaker's had more trouble with the Padres than anyone else. His career record 3-9 and a gaudy 4.44 earned run average. The one lost record and the ERA, both the worst against any single team for Hammaker in his career.
Well, it faces Gary Templeton, who will bat from the right side of the plate. First two times up, he went 0 for 2, and he's the only Padre who has not reached base in this game. Double play, fly out thus far. 2 down. Hammaker trying to get through the Padres, and the ground ball to Robbie Thompson. So a quick inning for Hammaker and the Giants. And we remain tied with Adley Hammaker nailing San Diego.
There are those who thirst for something different, an escape from the ordinary. For them, there is a beer that refreshes like no other. Michelob Dry. Once you've experienced its bold taste with no aftertaste, there's no going back.
Maybe the reason more people switch to Glidden than any other paint in the last 5 years is because it lasts year after year, no matter what the weather. Glidden, a better way to paint.
The Hodgson family has been building boats for 5 generations, and they use Craftsman, a line of 1,600 hand tools, all guaranteed forever. So once you buy one, there's only one reason you'd ever have to buy another.
Hey, good hustle, Tom. Way to go into the stands, babe.
Hey, you really killed yourself out there today, kid. You don't have to be a Major League ball player to need Major League pain relief. Ben Gay Sports Balm. Real relief for sore muscles.
Opening night here in San Francisco, more than 50,000 fans on hand to watch this home opener for San Francisco. They came in with a record of 2-1. And there was their star from a year ago. He has yet to get a hit in this ball game. He came in hitting .583 with 5 RBIs. He's still looking for his first home run this season. Grounded out into a double play in the first inning. Grounded out to the second baseman, Roberto Alomar, in the fourth. Nobody on. Here's the first pitch from Whitson, and it's a ground ball to Jack Clark. Fair ball. Clark's 0 for 3.
The question about Kevin Mitchell, the Giants cleanup hitter here, is can he do it again? That seems to be the question that's bouncing around the major leagues. Can he put together an awesome season like last year? You know, Steve, when you consider he was bothered by injuries the last month, he could have had even better numbers than he had.
Takes low for a ball. You're right, he had the wrist problem all season long. He also has tendinitis in his right knee, and that's the knee he likes to push off on at bat. Pull the rib muscle. I'll tell you what, he played through it and had a marvelous season. 47 home runs, 125 RBIs. And he goes up there hacking. It's 2 balls and no strikes, and Santiago wants to talk with Ed Whitson with 1 out here in the bottom of the 6th, the 2-2 ball game between San Diego and San Francisco.
Bothered by the injury problems in September, he drove in only 15 runs. That was his worst month of the season. You know, conceivably, if he's ultra healthy, add 3 or 4 more home runs and another 10 RBIs and refigure his season, and it really gets gaudy. Into the 50s in homers and into the 130s in RBIs.
Here's the 2-0 pitch to Kevin. In there for a strike. 2 balls and 1 strike. And he's a guy who does not like to walk. He had a ton of them last year, 87, but he wants to swing that bat. Here's the 2-1 pitch. Takes it inside. 3-1. Mitchell and Matt Williams, if they can keep things going. Robbie Thompson. He drove in the run. Robbie. That tied the game at 2.
Boy, great place to turn Mitchell loose to hit the cripple against Whitson.
In there, 3-1. And that's usually a pitch that Kevin will swing at. If it's close, he's taking a cut. 22, he led the staff. But 16 of them were solo home runs, so maybe this is the situation. Mitchell flails it foul.
'75 homers Eddie Whitson's given up in the last 3 years. But realize something. You saw the graphic, 22 homers. That isn't the whole story on Ed Whitson. 16 of them were solo. The other 6 were with 1 on. No 3-run shots, no grand slams. Control pitchers will often have numbers like that.
Kevin takes inside, ball 4, so Mitchell is on the go-ahead run for San Francisco, and here comes Matt Williams.
Well, that was a good pitch Kevin Mitchell took. Whitson put that ball just about where he wanted to. He wanted it on the inner half of the plate and up, a jam job on Mitchell. Mitchell probably couldn't have hit that pitch, and he probably got a little lucky from Doug Harvey to get it called ball 4.
Only his 2nd walk in the game. The first, you remember, was intentional when they walked Terry Kennedy to load the bases before Jose Uribe sent a fly ball to left field. And here's Williams, and here's the pitch. Popped up into shallow right field. In comes Gwynn. Out goes Alomar. He'll make the play. 2 down, and Mitchell returns to first.
But another good sign from Matt Williams. Whitson tried to go on the outside corner on him again, and Matt Williams tried to do the same thing he did last time. Take the ball to right field. Good idea for Matt Williams. Just didn't execute well, but the idea was sound.
Tied at 2 here in San Francisco. And we've got coming up on Sunday night, John Miller, Joe Morgan, the Mets and the Expos, live 8 o'clock Eastern time. That should keep Abe dandy because the Expos are trying to piece things back together after losing Mark Langston. Robbie Thompson takes the first pitch for a strike. 0-1. Mitchell at first base. 2 outs. 2-2 ball game here at Candlestick Park in San Francisco. Crowd bundled up. Temperature at game time was 58 degrees. Now it's at 53. Temperature and the wind still swirling around. Breaking pitch stays inside. 1 ball and 1 strike to Robbie. That's his numbers this year. Not a bad start for April. In there, 1-2.
Not a bad month for April for a lot of guys.
Robbie, one of the real leaders on this team. Very quiet. Boy, he is a captain. And he's way out in front of that one by Ed Whitson and strikes out. That does it for San Francisco in their half of the 6th. As we head to the 7th, we remain tied at 2.
Life's full of simple pleasures, like the comfort of Levi's jeans, or had you forgotten?
Starlight, star bright, first star I see tonight. Wish I may, wish I might, have the wish I wish tonight.
The Starlight Foundation grants hundreds of wishes to seriously ill children. And now you can help Michelob make more wishes come true. Just look for this display.
Have the wish I wish tonight.
So we put in this new central air, and our bills are really...
Down?
Exactly.
Must be a Lennox.
Lennox Heating and Air Conditioning. Since 1895.
must be a Lennox.
Attaboy, Dave.
Nothing's rougher on a man's face than shaving. That's why there's Skin Bracer. It's more than an aftershave. It soothes, cools, tightens pores, so it's good for your skin.
Thanks. I needed that.
Skin Bracer Aftershave.
Back to the Giants and the Padres, but the team the Giants faced last year in the World Series, as you take a look at that score, third down from the right, Oakland leads Seattle 12-1. It's in the bottom of the fourth. Ricky Henderson, his 41st time in his career, he led off with a home run. In 3.5 games this year, they've outscored their opponents 25-12. Back to you.
San Diego, San Francisco locked at 2. Off in the distance, you can see the San Diego bullpen where Mark Grant is warming up. And there's a look at Gary Carter, new catcher, obtained in the offseason from the New York Mets. Let him go. He signed with San Francisco. And stepping up is Sean Abner. That's why Mark Grant is warming up in the bullpen, because Abner is pinch hitting for him. So Whitson with a nice performance tonight.
Very, very good performance for Eddie Whitson. Danced through the raindrops a couple of innings, but a good solid performance for Eddie through 6.
And Abner trying to go deep left field. He does, but it's foul, and it's just a long strike. Adley Hammaker breezed through the 6th inning. Got Lynn, Santiago, and Templeton. And here he faces Sean Abner. And then back to the top of the order, Bip Roberts and Roberto Alomar. Fights it off foul. Abner was one of the top choices in the early draft for the New York Mets, and then was traded over to San Diego. But he's been a little bit of a disappointment. Still, he's a young player.
Yeah, he's 23. He came over here with Kevin Mitchell, amongst others. And that big deal with Kevin McReynolds going the other way. Lives in one of the great named towns in America. Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. Think you can get your car fixed there?
He pounds this one foul. It's 1-2. That is an industrial town. He has a little bit of trouble with the breaking stuff, and with Hammaker with that good sinker and hard slider, well, he can get the job done. Bip Roberts on deck.
Abner's one of those guys that has to feel some of the pressure of the 27-man roster. The guys sitting the benches are the on-the-bubble types. Will get few opportunities these first 3 weeks to prove one way or another. And this is a big shot for Abner.
Swing and a miss. Sean Abner is cut down by Adley Hammaker. The first strikeout for Hammaker in the game. So he has pushed aside the first 4 Padres that he has faced.
You know, whenever Adley Hammaker comes in the game, you know the music that they play for certain players when they come in? They should play "Nobody Knows the Trouble I've Seen" behind Adley Hammaker when he comes in the game. This guy has spent a lifetime on the disabled list. You ready for this? 79 DL muscle strain left shoulder, 80 DL muscle strain left shoulder, 83 DL sore left shoulder, 84 DL rotator cuff surgery.
Bip Roberts pops it up right side. In comes Bass. Out goes Thompson. Thompson makes the catch, 2 outs.
I continue. 84 DL bone spurs left elbow, 86 DL more rotator cuff surgery, 87 DL recurring rehabilitation from the rotator cuff surgery, 89 DL strained tendon left bicep, and finally 89 DL torn cartilage left knee. 9 DL stints in his career in 10 years for Adley Hammaker.
Roberto Alomar standing in there, takes a strike, and Hammaker has thrown 14 pitches now. 12 have been for strikes, so he is right on tonight. And here's the 0-1 pitch, and Roberto takes in the dirt. 1 ball, 1 strike. It all happened in 1984. You remember the season he had prior to that, and he was fabulous. I mean, he was cutting down everybody, made the All-Star team. And then after that, he hurt the rotator cuff. Back then, they didn't know how severe it was. There's a look at Matt Williams over at third base, who hugs the line on Roberto Alomar, trying to work him inside. Here's the 1-1 pitch to Roberto. Takes high, 2 balls and 1 strike. But he was the bright spot for the future of San Francisco pitching.
Yeah.
And he has worked hard to come back from that rotator cuff surgery. Ground ball, Matt Williams. San Diego is gone very quickly. And Hammaker, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the first half dozen Padres that he has faced. And it's still 2-2, San Diego and San Francisco.
When it comes to rides, this one is serious fun. The new Cub, only from Honda.
Shortcut in a car. Shortcut in a truck. Finally, there's an oil that knows the difference. Truck Guard from Shell.
If you just ask for a light beer, give me a light. You never know what you'll get.
Thoughts? No, actually, Bud Light.
So if you want the clean, fresh taste that won't fill you up and never lets you down, ask for Bud Light.
Yours?
No, because everything else
Give me a light. Showtime!
is just a light.
When I bite into a York peppermint patty, I get the sensation of frosty window panes and old man winter knocking at my door.
York Peppermint Patty. Get the sensation.
Dutch Boy is now at Sears at introductory sale prices. Get the look with Dutch Boy's satin finish interior or exterior paint. But hurry in because these special prices are here through Saturday only.
Cool night in Candlestick Park. 2-2 ball game, San Diego and San Francisco, and the new pitcher for the Padres, Mark Grant.
26-year-old Mark Grant really came into his own last year, 8-2.
And Terry Kennedy laces one hard to right field. It gets by Tony Gwynn, goes all the way to the fence. Kennedy rolls into second base. Perhaps any other base runner, that's a triple. But Kennedy is not a swift base runner, and Gwynn has an excellent arm.
The official scorer calls this a two-base hit, but I'll bet you Tony Gwynn is thinking to himself, this is an error. He does not play the ball well. He lets the hop crowd him, and Kennedy leaves for a pinch runner. The Giants, realizing this is a critical point in the game, send Brad Cummins to second base to run for Terry Kennedy. Not a good play by Tony Gwynn.
Gold Glove, right fielder. He shifted back from center field last year to allow Joe Carter to take over in center. He was much more comfortable there. And there's Brad Cummins. Last year, they would have had Donnell Nixon. And there's Dan Quisenberry warming in the Giants bullpen. Why? Well, because after Uribe, the pitcher spot is there.
Do you bunt, or do you let Uribe try to pull Grant? Probably bunt.
He is, and he lays it down third base side. Quick play by Biff Roberts, tossing out Jose Uribe, and Cummins goes to third base. So nicely done by Jose Uribe, and the Giants have the go-ahead run on here in the bottom of the seventh of a 2-2 ball game. Adley Hammaker will come out, and Ernest Riles will step up to the plate.
The Padres did not put the play on where the shortstop rolls over and covers third, and you kind of wonder why not. There was nothing for Gary Templeton to do on that play when you come right down to it. There was no runner at first base. So with Roberts coming hard from third, why didn't the Padres have Templeton coming over to play third? That ball was not bunted particularly well. It was bunted straight to Roberts, a quick throw back to third. They could have possibly gotten Cummins, but for some reason, the shortstop was not over covering third, which is the usual play you put on in that situation.
And it seemed like, Norm, that Cummins did not get a great jump from second base. And there's a look at the Padre bullpen as Pitching coach Pat Dobson approaches the mound to talk with his team. Pat Clements is the left-hander. Valdez is the right-hander.
Rafael Valdez. If God smiles on Rafael Valdez, he's going to have some career because God gave him one wonderful right arm.
And he has turned in fantastic numbers in the minors. And he's warming with the bullpen. But right now, this game is Mark Grant's. He faces a right-hander, Ernest Riles. They're really taking their time out on the mound, allowing Clements and Valdez to get busy.
Grant is a strikeout pitcher in his career, about 6 strikeouts per 9 innings.
Infield in. Playing for the play at the plate. 2-2 ball game. Bottom of the 7th here at opening day for Candlestick Park. And Riles takes inside with the fastball. 1 ball, no strikes. Riles a good hitter for the San Francisco Giants last year. He played just about every infield position, all except first base, and he played left field and right field. Came over some huge clutch hits. Man on third, 1 out. The pitch to Ernest Riles. He swings and pops it up. Jack Clark will call off Alomar. 2 big outs.
Now the Padres must not relax in this situation. They must stay alert for, amongst other things, the bunt. You've got good speed at third in Kamensk, and you've got a very accomplished bunter at the plate in Brett Butler, with Jack Clark, who is not the most mobile of first basemen down there. Clark's got to realize that Butler could drag him in this situation. In fact, Clark and Alomar standing over there chatting, and it just now breaks up. That could well be the subject of the discussion. And as you can see, Butler, 23 bunt base hits last year.
And there is Roger Craig relaying the signs out to third base coach Bill Fahey, who gives them right to that man, Brett Butler. Clark even with the bag at first.
Yeah, and Alomar cheated a couple of steps in at second also.
Santiago went out to make sure everything was straight with Grant. Here's the pitch in there for strike 1. Now the infielders back up just a bit. Clark at first base. He was even with the bag. Now he's about 3 feet beyond.
Yeah, but as Grant comes set, I'll bet you Clark takes that step or 2 forward. You cannot relax against Brett Butler in this situation.
No balls, 1 strike. Roberts in at third. Here's the pitch to home plate. In there, strike 2. And the crowd howls at that pitch.
Well, Butler's got this little way of picking his arms up as the pitch goes by. Watch this now. See, and it gives the fans the feeling the ball was inside. But Grant with that fastball that runs a little bit back over the inside corner. No question that ball was strike 2.
There's your story here at Candlestick Park, the home opener for the defending National League champions, tied at 2. San Diego and San Francisco, man on third, 2 outs, and the pitch. He grounds it foul, stays alive. No balls, 2 strikes.
Grant, a former Giant, and he went in the trade that was to involve a future Cy Young Award winner and a future MVP. He was in that Mark Davis, Kevin Mitchell trade, along with the Tin Man, Chris Brown.
Where's Chris now?
Lord knows. Dave Dravecki was in that trade. My goodness, the way the world has taken some of the people in that trade since then. Craig Lefferts was in that trade.
And now he's back with San Diego. Here at the stick, tied at 2. Grant with the 0-2 pitch to Brett Butler. Way high and inside. It's 1-2.
Nice play by Santiago. That riding fastball up and in. Santiago makes a nice backhanded save.
Grant's story in his past, they weren't sure if he was going to take baseball that seriously. He loved the after-dinner stuff. And after the game was over, Pat Dobson has turned his game around. Here's the 1-2 to Brett Butler, high and outside. 2 balls, 2 strikes. He did not lose against the West last year, Mark Grant. The Engineers in motion. Kean and Craig, the man with the baseball, Mark Grant. Here's the pitch to Brett Butler. He just does get a piece of it. Count remains at 2 balls and 2 strikes.
They better get Butler or he could lose against the West this year. Baseball's a funny game. Padres were not shut out the last 65 games of last season. This season starts and they promptly get shut out by Tim Belcher.
He's going to shut out a lot of people. He had 8 last year, and I tell you, that 1-2 combination of Hershiser and Belcher for the Dodgers was just brilliant. Belcher's really grown up.
Tell you what, they've got some other dynamite arms in that team too. Young John Wetland is a very, very good young pitcher.
And
Ramon Martinez, oh my.
Circle change. That's the one pitch that Pat Dobson gave that guy, Mark Grant. He was a fastball slider pitcher. Valdez and Clements, they're ready. Here's the 2-2 to Brett Butler. Misses outside. 3 balls and 2 strikes. If Butler can get on, Kevin Bass is on deck. There's a look at the Giants right fielder. He replaced Candy Maldonado, who now plays for the Cleveland Indians.
Who had a big day today in their win over Chicago. Boy, Candy was happy to get out of this place. Whew. The Giants on him last year.
Line drive, center field. Back goes Joe Carter. Not there. The Giants will take the lead, and Butler hangs on at second base with an RBI double. 3-2 San Francisco. Well, he hung in there. The count was 0-2, and he fought right back.
Grant gets a fastball right out over the plate and way up in the strike zone. And Butler, not known for much power, hits this ball about 390 feet over Joe Carter's head, short hops the center field wall. And the last guy in the world you'd expect to show power in the late innings in a clutch situation in this Giants team puts him ahead.
The wind is blowing out about 15 miles an hour. Here's Kevin Bass. Missing outside is Mark Grant. It's 1 ball, no strikes. Giants leading 3-2. Hammaker is gone after the pinch hitter. We have to remind you that Steve Bedrosian is not here tonight. He's with his family in Atlanta. Again, his son Cody, diagnosed having leukemia today. And how tragic situations have occurred here in the Bay Area with this baseball team the last 3 years. Jose Uribe lost his wife, giving birth 2 years ago, and of course Dave Dravecky last year. And here's the pitch to Kevin Bass, ground ball, first base Clark. But the Giants come up with the go-ahead run and take the lead on San Diego 3-2 as we head to the 8th inning of play.
Did you hear about it? A big new baseball video that covers all of the 1980s. It's got everything.
Hi, I'm Jack Brickhouse, and I've just seen one of the best baseball videos ever produced. Baseball in the 80s. You from the Sporting News. An entire decade of headline-making, record-breaking baseball action and excitement. Free with your paid subscription to the Sporting News. America's most authoritative, most complete sports weekly, bringing fans unbeatable baseball coverage for over 100 years. Call now to have the Sporting News delivered right to your mailbox every week at a big 46% saving off the cover price. Plus this full-hour video cassette of the decade, Baseball in the 80s, yours free.
Call 1-800-638-1200. Get your free video with 25 issues of the Sporting News for 3 payments of just $9.96. Save 46% off the cover price. Call now 1-800-638-1200. That's 1-800-638-1200.
If you like sports, you can win $100 right now in your home. Just go to the phone and dial this number, Kelly's Phone Quiz. Use your push buttons to answer 9 sports trivia questions, and we'll pay you $100. Simple to do and a lot of fun. You can even select your favorite sports category.
Call now. Answer 9 questions correctly with your push-button phone and win $100. 1-900-246-KELLY. $1.50 first minute, 75 cents additional minute.
Call now and let your fingers win you $100.
Friday night doubleheader. This is game 2 on ESPN, and the San Francisco Giants lead the San Diego Padres 3-2. And we've talked about the troubles that the San Francisco pitching staff has had. Dave Dravecky threw out the first baseball at the San Diego Padres Los Angeles Dodgers opener on Tuesday night. And Dravecky, we all heard about his cancer in his left arm, how he fought back last year, and there he lobs her in. But one of the true gentlemen in the game. New pitcher for San Francisco, Dan Quisenberry, former great relief artist for the Kansas City Royals, and then last year for the St. Louis Cardinals, has 244 career saves, and must try and nail this one down for Atlee Hammaker.
One of the true oddballs of the game. This guy, if you had to choose to be locked in an elevator for 12 hours with anybody in the major leagues, this is a good choice. This is a funny man. This is a bright man. This is a man with his life in perspective. Dan Quisenberry is a dynamite guy.
And he throws underhanded and throws strike one.
If you haven't seen the Sports Illustrated issue, the baseball preview issue, Dan Quisenberry rates the bullpens. Literally, not the pitchers, the physical area, the bullpen itself.
Tony Gwynn, hard ground ball, Robbie Thompson. And that is what Dan Quisenberry will do if he's on. That sinker that really drops down and produces ground balls. And Robbie Thompson takes care. He may like it here in San Francisco. The first time he's worked on natural grass. He had the turf in Kansas City, the turf in St. Louis. Really gets through. This is a high grass here at Candlestick Park, and perhaps that's the reason he made his choice to sign out here.
Well, you know, Steve Quiz went through some bad years. The late 80s were not good to him, but when he came over to St. Louis last year, hey, his year with St. Louis was very good. 3-1, 2.64 earned run average, 63 appearances. That's a pretty good year for a spot pitcher, and this guy's a valuable, solid, steady bullpen pitcher.
Well, here's Jack Clark, and boy, they play him to pull. I mean, and Matt Williams is absolutely hugging the line, and then you have Jose Uribe completely pulled around. Matt, he could dive and take a base hit away from the third base coach.
Yes.
Mitchell deep in left. Butler very deep in center. And Clark fouls it off. One ball, one strike.
Tell you what's funny, though, about the Giant defense here, Steve. The shortstop pulls way around and the center fielder pulls way around, but the second baseman remains pretty standard and the right fielder remains pretty standard. Look at the gap up the middle and look at the gap to right center. The book on Clark is when he pulls it hard. When he goes the other way, he hits sort of normal right field spray patterns.
Well, here's the 1-1 pitch. This time misses low. And it's 2 balls and 1 strike to Jack Clark.
Basically, what you won't get, this defense is telling you from Jack Clark, is the ball hit hard right up the middle. That's the ball Jack won't hit. Now, let's see.
Again, they work the outside corner. And it's 2 balls and 2 strikes. And, you know, if you try and pull that outside pitch, you're talking ground ball Jose Uribe.
Yes. Yeah, you got a worm killer. But 8 bounces. And with Jack's speed, he doesn't beat out 8 bouncers.
Misses inside. 3 balls, 2 strikes, 1 out. Giants leading 3-2 as we're in the top of the 8th inning here at Candlestick Park. And there's a look at that underhanded delivery of Dan Quisenberry, and the pitch that just barely missed. We'll see another sinker here, and Clark fouls it off. 3-2. You know, the one thing about Quisenberry, he's always thrown slow, but when he got up in age, up near 35, well, he just dropped a couple of miles an hour off, and that made the sinker, the difference between the fastball and the sinker, that much, and it wasn't as effective.
That's exactly right.
Here's the payoff to Jack Clark with 1 out. And again, he stays alive. 3-2.
We got a couple of resurrected careers as the battery now for the Giants. Quisenberry and Carter have been around the block a couple of times, haven't they?
Gary Carter signed in the offseason, had a miserable year last year, only hitting 183, but boy, he still knows the hitters and still calls a great game, working with Dan Quisenberry. And Clark smashes it deep left. Look out here. Back goes Mitchell to the fence. Gone, and we're tied at 3. He likes the ball down. He got one just a bit above the knees, and see you later, Dan Quisenberry.
And the unrelenting Giants fans still give him what for.
The hits are even. The runs are even here in the top of the 8th, and Joe Carter steps to the plate.
Look at the location on this ball, though. Yeah, Quisenberry knows it. Yeah, you get a neck strain watching that ball. Grumph.
So Joe Carter standing in now, and he sends a ground ball. Jose Uribe scoops it, and in digging it out is Will Clark. 2 outs.
Well, everybody's off this hook now. This is now Quisenberry and Grant to win or lose. Look at the location. Oh, my. Never, ever throw the ball to Jack Clark out over the middle of the plate about belt high unless you got some steam on that puppy.
That was like a batting practice pitch.
Think Jack knew to see him flip the bat?
Oh, he did. And how? And there's a star of the moment. Jack Clark, San Diego Padres, smashing one to deep left field. His first home run of 1990.
You know, Freddie Lynn's an interesting case. You mentioned Hammaker coming in before. He was brought in to start an inning to pitch to Lynn.
Reaches out and loops it into right field, base hit. So with 2 outs, Fred Lynn challenges the arm of Kevin Bass, who shows it, so Lynn retreats to first base.
That move of Hammaker to pitch to Lynn, the percentages truly bear it out about Freddie Lynn. 15 straight years, Freddie Lynn has hit right-handers better than left-handers. 15 consecutive years. You can truly use the book when pitching to Fred Lynn.
What's the book on Benito Santiago, with a guy like Quisenberry throws a lot of, well, breaking stuff up there, a lot of off-speed stuff, and Santiago likes the heat. In there for strike 1.
You'll probably see Quisenberry use a lot of finesse to Santiago. He's a good fastball hitter. Kind of surprised that, well, with 2 outs, maybe the Padres don't want to play one of the cards off the bench that they have to run for Lynn. Lynn, not the most spry of players anymore. Used to have very good speed.
Well, he was an outstanding talent when he came up. Not going, the pitch. Ground ball. Force at second. But Jack Clark, with his first home run of the year, has tied the game at 3. It's a 3-3 ball game here at Candlestick Park. Giants home opener.
I say, put on some steaks and get the Queen a Bud Light.
Bud Light's clean, fresh taste won't fill you up, never lets you down.
Henry, they're Pop-Tarts.
Everything else is just a light.
Craftsman lawn tractors are so tough, some are still going strong even after 22 years. So it doesn't surprise us that when Craftsman owners finally get a new tractor, they get another Craftsman. The only question is, when?
Boating in a car. Boating in a truck. Finally, there's an oil that knows the difference. Truck Guard from Shell.
When I played football, I crunched quarterbacks. But now I crunch these. JB's Pigskins. The new pork rinds.
Still going. Nothing outlasts the Energizer. They keep going and going.
I like your shoes, Mr. Madden.
Yeah, I knew you'd like them. Orshine Comfortech. They're guaranteed comfortable.
Guaranteed?
Yeah.
Could you just sit there?
Sit, stand, walk, dance in them for 30 days. If you don't love them, you get your money back. You're really walking on air. Because in Comfortech, there's air bubbles right in the sole. And they're made to follow the shape of your foot, even in big sizes like mine. Hey, that looks great. Thanks, Charlie. Florsheim Comfortech. Total comfort or a total refund?
Bottom of the 8th, tie game, San Diego and San Francisco. And each night, baseball tonight will bring you the most comprehensive coverage of Major League Baseball ever offered on television. The show will include extensive highlights from each Major League game, along with team previews, scores, and features. That's baseball tonight, every night, here on ESPN. Tie ball game 3-3. Guess who's coming to the plate? The thrill, Will Clark. He's 0 for 3. He has not looked strong at the plate thus far in the game, but those times he faced Ed Whitson, who throws a lot of off-speed stuff. This time it's the man with the heat, Mark Grant. And here's the first pitch to Grant. Throws a breaking pitch for strike one.
Well, that certainly is by the book, because the word on Clark is do not throw him first pitch fastballs over the plate.
No. A lot of pitchers have lost their jobs because of that. Taken out of games early. Remember, he wore a batting helmet last year in batting practice. On the back of it, it said, "Stay back, see the ball." Just to remind him every time. Pitch misses. 1 ball, 2 balls, and 1 strike. Signed a big contract in the offseason. And in the offseason, never worked harder. Took over 800 swings a day. Grounds this one foul, and count goes even 2-2.
The real players, the guys like Clark, money doesn't change them. The character players, the great players, he may argue over money, he may make his stand on money, but he does not play the game for money. That's simply what accrues from his enormous talent.
Grant has the count, 2-2, and here's the pitch. And Clark rips it foul out of play. You don't know, there was a situation last year, and Clark had played every single game during the season, was just exhausted. And I asked him about it. I said, why don't you go in and tell Roger Craig that maybe you'd need a day off? And he goes, absolutely not. I can't do that. My job is to go out there and drive in runs, and I don't care how tired I am. I'm going out there. But he was mentally and physically exhausted. But he went out, got a base hit that night, drove in a couple of runs. Pitch misses outside, 3-2.
Right at 1 out of every 3 Giants games last year was a multi-hit game for Will Clark. 53 multi-hit games last season for him.
Line up second behind Tony Gwynn, batting at 333. There's a 3-2, and Clark swings and misses, striking out, so Will is 0 for 4 in this game. Let's now go to our Baseball Tonight studios with John Saunders.
Will Clark had been 7 for 12 coming in. Meantime, the Twins and the Angels, Mike Witt facing Brian Harper. The Angels had a 4-2 lead into the 7th. This one scores Kirby Puckett to make the lead 6-4 for the Twins. 5 runs in the 7th inning. The Twins are now up. Let's get it back to you.
Well, Mike Witt combined that no-hitter with Mark Langston the other day, but he gets knocked around tonight by the Minnesota Twins.
Tell me Kirby Puckett and Kevin Mitchell's bodies don't look a little bit alike.
Kirby runs a little faster, but this guy can flat hit the baseball as well, and he laces one to center field. Joe Carter plays it quickly, and Mitchell stays at first base with 1 out.
Good pitch. Hey, Mark Grant made a fine pitch. He stuck that tailing fastball right on the outside corner at the knees. Problem is, they don't pay Kevin Mitchell the money they pay him to take pitches like that. Sometimes, you know, you hear a lot of announcers say, oh, pitcher's mistake, pitcher's mistake, pitcher's mistake. Sometimes just a good hitter.
Well, he is a flat good hitter. I mean, he hit so well in the minor leagues and then bounced around from the Mets to San Diego, and it seems like he's finally found a home here at Candlestick Park.
Let's see. We're going to change left fielders for the Padres. Darren Jackson comes in for Fred Lynn.
So we'll have the double switch.
Yeah, it appears Mark Grant's gone. And they're going to bring the right-hander to pitch to Matty Williams. Or are they?
So the pitcher who will come on, Greg Harris, will hit in Fred Lynn's spot. So Lynn takes a seat. So does Mark Grant. Darren Jackson moves to right field, and the new pitcher, Greg Harris. He's a very talented young pitcher. Right now, we're at Candlestick Park. This is the home opener for the San Francisco Giants, and tied at 3. Both teams with 9 hits in the game. San Diego going up 1-0 in the first. Giants came back with a run in the first. Padres took a 2-1 lead in the fourth. Giants came right back to tie it up, and then a base hit by San Francisco in the 7th by Brett Butler gave the Giants a 3-2 lead, but Jack Clark hit a home run in the 8th to lock it up at 3. Steve Physiok along with Norm Hitzges tonight on ESPN. The second game of our doubleheader, and there's young pitcher Greg Harris.
Greg Harris is in his second full year in the big leagues. He was a draft choice of the Padres, 10th round, June 1985, and worked his way up through their system. Spokane, Charleston, Wichita, Las Vegas. Last year spent the entire year with the club. Made 8 starts, pitched primarily out of the bullpen, and pitched doggone well. Did you see that earned run average? 2.60. One of the things that leaps out at you about young Greg Harris. 135 innings last year and only 106 hits.
A 3-3 ball game here in San Francisco, and we've got the Mets and Expos coming away on ESPN this Sunday, live 8 o'clock Eastern time. It's a Sunday night special with Joe Morgan and John Miller. There's Greg Harris.
By the way, Greg Harris so far this year, 4 1/3 innings, 1 hit and 6 strikeouts. That'll get it done.
So we had the power duel before, with Quisenberry facing Jack Clark, and Clark, of course, supplying the power. There's Darren Jackson. He's the new right fielder replacing Fred Lynn. And now we've got Greg Harris, who has a very live arm going against power hitting third baseman Matt Williams from San Francisco. And he goes the opposite way with foul. Boy, Matt Williams has been in the hole every single at bat in this game. He does have a base hit to his credit. He's 1 for 3. That hit came in the 4th.
Greg Harris, twice in 4 years, named the Padre Minor League Pitcher of the Year. It was no surprise when Harris made the club last year and pitched well. This is a guy that a lot of people feel will wind up being their closer.
Mitchell is not really a threat to go. He did have a stolen base last year. Jack Clark will hold him. Harris throws a fastball in the upper 80s, but his outpitch may be the curveball. Pat Dobson taught it. Told him to throw it. Boy, he did. Start really was his outpitch. Williams, hard ground ball. Third base Roberts. They get 1. They get 2. And San Diego gets San Francisco out of the inning. We're still tied at 3 here at Candlestick Park in San Francisco. The Giants home opener.
Saturday morning. Time to climb up on the old lawn tractor and ride. Well, if this is what it feels like, maybe you should look into a new Honda. With its smooth-running, liquid-cooled engine, hydrostatic transmission, and super comfortable seat, it takes care of you as well as your lawn. Test drive the new Honda hydrostatic transmission lawn tractor and put the old lawn tractor out to pasture.
Think you've got problems? Take a look at this place. We've got every kind of computer and every kind of disk. I mean, we're lucky to find information, let alone use it. And every computer place I talk to says they've got the solution. Well, how can anyone who's never even seen this mess offer me a solution? That's why we're talking to Microwage. Instead of trying to sell me something off the shelf, they're coming here to look at my computer needs firsthand.
Microwave, with more than 200 locations, as close as the telephone.
Sellout crowd at Candlestick Park for the Giants home opener. Jack Clark tied it up with a long home run, his first of the year, and we're tied at 3. Dan Quisenberry back in the mound, working with his battery mate Gary Carter. And the Plate comes Gary Templeton. He'll be followed by Darren Jackson, and then back to the top of the order in Bip Roberts. Templeton in this game 0 for 3. The only San Diego batter not to reach base in this game. And the starting line. Here's Dan Quisenberry. He's the man who delivered that high sinker to Jack Clark, and he took it way out of here. First pitch from Quisenberry to Templeton is way inside. Templeton just bends out of the way. Gary acquired from St. Louis in that Ozzie Smith deal. This guy was one of the absolute fantastic talents when he came up. Only man ever to get 100 hits from both sides of the plate. 111 from this side, 100 from the right side. Here's the pitch. He goes down the line, left field, extra bases. Templeton making the turn. Mitchell over quickly to cut it off. Here comes the throw. Look out here. Oh, he's in there. So a leadoff double for Gary Templeton.
That's the position that a lot of people wonder about on the Padres. If Gary Templeton has a good, solid year, this club's in pretty good shape because they're well fortified at other spots. But there are some people that wonder if Templeton started downhill a little bit, and a shortstop going downhill is not the nicest thing to try to coax into postseason play. But this certainly doesn't look like Gary Templeton's downhill.
Not at all. Well, you know, he has the tendonitis in his knees, and he has suffered from that the last couple of years. And it has slowed him down. He may have had a stand-up double about 5 years ago. This time he has a head-first slide. But it gives San Diego a great opportunity here in the 9th inning.
Now let's see how the Giants play this. Here's another one of those man at second, nobody out bunt situations. Let's see if the Giants swing Uribe around to third and let Williams charge the ball bunted that side.
Well, here's Darren Jackson. Infield comes in. Clark comes in hard. The bunt is foul. Strike one.
Darren Jackson was included in the deal with Calvin Schiraldi and infielder Phil Stevenson, who also, by the way, made this team. From the Cubs late last August, that sent Luis Salazar and Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel Wynn to the Cubs for their stretch run. Salazar and Wynn still good, solid contributors on the Cubs team. Good trade all the way around. Schiraldi seems to have settled in here, and Stevenson and Jackson each made this roster.
Let's see if they change up here on the defense. Williams stayed at third that time. Clark will come hustling again. Jackson squares. He bunts third base side. Quisenberry grabs it. Quick toss. No. We've got runners in the corners and still nobody out. So what a beautiful bunt by Darren Jackson.
You will not see a better bunted ball in this situation ever. Jackson lays this ball right down on the grass. Quisenberry probably should have let that ball go to Matt Williams. Once Quisenberry backhands this ball, his momentum carries him over the third base line. But hey, it's doubtful Matty Williams throws him out either.
Perhaps he lets it roll to see if it goes foul. Looked like it was going to stay fair, but it was such a good butt, there was really no chance. Infield really in, playing for the play at the plate. Nobody out. Runners at the corners. Tie game at 3, 9th inning. And the pitch by Quisenberry misses outside.
One of the problems the Giants have in this situation is the sad situation regarding Steve Bedrosian. This is the point Bedrock might have been in this game, but the Giants have a weakened bullpen, not only by his absence, but by a lot of other things that have happened to their staff.
Misses outside again. 2 balls and no strikes. And it appears that Randy O'Neal is warming in the Giants bullpen.
Well, they got available righty O'Neal, righty McGaffigan, Eric Gunderson, a rookie lefty.
He will start tomorrow.
So he's not available. Swan's not available. I guess Swan could pitch.
Catches the outside corner. 2 balls, 1 strike.
Russ Swan is also a baby lefty. And the other guy that sits down there is Jeff Brantley. Brantley worked 3 1/3 yesterday. He can't go today. The Giants very short on bullpenners.
And there it is. It is Randy O'Neal, the right-hander. Quisenberry has runners in the corners, no one out. Here's the 2-1 to Bip Roberts, and he lines one hard right field. In comes a pass off his glove, and in comes Templeton. 4-3 San Diego, rounding third and coming home. The Padres now lead 5-3. Darren Jackson right now is the star, even though Bip Roberts comes up with that line drive off the glove of Kevin Bass. But it was the bunt that made it all possible.
That's got to be E9 on Kevin Bass. The Padres get very lucky there. Do you know Templeton did not tag up? He played that ball halfway. That could have been a base running mistake if Bass makes that catch. But he doesn't. Roberts really rips this ball, by the way. Take nothing away from the shot that Bip Roberts hit. And Bass just doesn't catch it. It's got to be E9.
You're absolutely right with Templeton. About halfway down, he would have to go back to the bag. It could easily be a 3-3 ball game and 1 out.
Yep.
Now runner at third, 5-3, and back to the screen. Roberto Alomar goes now with the Padres leading the Giants 5-3.
They have not yet put an error on the board. Oh, there it is right now. There we go.
E9 and Kevin Bass, those swirling winds may have cost him. He'll learn to play right field. In the air, Alomar going deep. Over comes Bass, makes the catch. In comes Bip Roberts. 6-3 San Diego.
Good job, Alomar. Get the ball in the air. Get as much pop on it as you can. Suddenly the Padres are in a position to steal the Giants' home opener.
And they do it comeback style. Jack Clark's home run in the top of the 8th to tie it. And here with 3 runs in the top of the 9th. And that takes us to Tony Gwynn. He's up there with 2 outs, nobody on, but 3 runs already in. Pitch to Gwynn. Only 1 out.
Should have been 2.
You're right, with Bass dropping the baseball. Down the line. Foul. Seventh highest paid player, not baseball, in San Diego, and he led the league in hitting.
Well, Gwynn wanted more money. He went in and asked to see if the club's policy on renegotiation had changed.
Well, he hits it hard to center field. Back goes Brett Butler. It's off the top of the fence. Butler stays in. Gwynn going to third. Here comes the throw. No, Robbie Thompson will hold on, and Tony Gwynn has himself a triple. And Tony Gwynn has himself a pair of hits in this game.
Some shots in the 9th off the quiz. And this ball was really smoked. That's a long, long carry to dead center field here in the stick. And the flags indicate this ball hit against the wind to some degree. Watch where it hits, if you can see it. No. He misses the home run by about an inch. It hits directly on top of the fence and stays in the park.
Well, that takes us to Jack Clark, who tied this game up in the 8th. Giants were leading 3-2, and Quisenberry threw a sinker that did not, and Clark deposited over the left field fence some 360 feet away, and he slams this one back up the middle, base hit, and the Padres have scored 4 in the 9th to take a 7-3 lead. And out comes Roger Craig, and out goes Dan Quisenberry.
This is the area that a lot of people who look at the Giants now feel is suspect about the club. It's not so much Quisenberry. He'd have made this team, no question. But the problem on the Giants is that with Downs gone, and Robinson gone, and Alvarez gone, then compounding the bullpen problems, Trevor Wilson comes to camp and was very, very poor in spring training and get cut. All of a sudden, the Giants have a staff that's very thin of ability. And with a Bedrosian now suffering the personal tragedy, it makes the staff even thinner. And that man that people say is a pitching genius looks like he's going to have to do another year of juggling.
He's just running out of weapons. We're at the top of the 9th. San Diego scored 4 runs on San Francisco, trying to spoil their home opener, and many of the crowd here at the Stick 54,000 plus already flying out of Candlestick Park. Randy O'Neal is the new pitcher.
Randy O'Neal's bounced around. He'll turn 30 a little later this summer, but O'Neal's been around the track a couple of times. The Tigers were his initial team in the big leagues, then Atlanta and St. Louis and the Phillies last year. Tell you what, when you have an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper that summarizes Randy's career and half of it's taken up with his moves, you know Randy's been on a couple of buses.
Hey, Norm, don't forget to tune into ESPN tomorrow night for Saturday Night Thunder. Live auto racing returns to ESPN featuring the USAC Midgets. That's Saturday Night Thunder, live at 9 o'clock Eastern tomorrow night on ESPN.
Randy O'Neal was drafted 5 times before he signed. Expos took him, he went back to school. Twins took him, back to school. Brewers took him, went back to school. Reds took him, he went back to school. Tigers took him, and he signed.
That was part of that January draft, January and June draft. So a college player could make a decision. But Randy O'Neal decided to stay put. Now he's in the major leagues, so he got his education. Now playing a little baseball. And Joe Carter goes up to the first pitch that Randy O'Neal has to offer. Falls behind 0-1. O'Neal from Ashland, Kentucky. Carter with now 2 hits on the year. He swings and misses it. Delivery by O'Neal, and is in the hole, 0-2. First base is Jack Clark. 4 runs already in. San Diego claiming a 7-3 lead here in the top of the 9th on the San Francisco Giants. Scott Geraltz, Ed Whitson got the call for Giants and Padres to start this affair. Pitch by O'Neal, misses inside, 1-2.
Padres as a team swinging the bat very, very well. 13 hits tonight, and another half a dozen balls hit very, very hard.
Ground ball, foul. When you get up by 4 runs in the 9th inning, perhaps at this particular moment, they don't need a Mark Davis. But well, when will they need him down the road?
Exactly right. You know, Davis had part in 53% of their wins last year. He either won them or saved them. The offense will obviously take some pressure off the staff.
Ground ball, foul. Remains at 1-2, so they have to ask the question, will Grant be the closer? Will Greg Harris be the closer? Could Craig Lefferts be the closer? But normally you don't want a left-handed pitcher, even though Craig Lefferts does have a fine screwball to right-handed hitters. Lefferts has to prove that he is the closing man. He has always been the setup guy. In the air, right center field in the Bermuda Triangle, and going to third is Jack Clark. Settling in at first base, Joe Carter. So the winds have been unkind to San Francisco in this game, and it does not matter where the flags are showing. When they're down in this big bowl at Candlestick Park, they swirl around.
This 9th inning is starting to resemble the film Heaven's Gate. It just never ends.
And Thompson searching for the baseball with the swirling winds.
You know, Robbie Thompson probably should have been the last man to try that ball out of that threesome. It appeared Bass and Butler each probably would have had better shots at it coming in hard.
So still only 1 out. This inning not over for San Diego. They've already scored 4.
You know, just a thought for you. The kid at the plate may wind up being their closer. The reason you don't start the year saying, hey, you're the closer, is it puts a lot of pressure on him. He's been in the big leagues 1 year, Greg Harris, but he's certainly got the arm to be a closer. They feel he's got the mentality to be a closer. And if he can be the closer on this club, the staff sets up perfectly. Because then Grant's your right-hander in the middle. Then you go to your left-hander Clemens in the middle. Then you go to your right-hander Schiraldi. Then you go to your left-hander Lefferts, and then you go to your right-hander Harris. The staff sets up beautifully if Harris comes on to be your right-hand closer.
And their starting staff is really set, and they just love Andy Bennis. Greg Harris pulls the bat back, takes a strike, though.
What's not to love about Andy Bennis? Can he pump it?
Live arm, great deal of courage. To say he's not afraid to pitch inside. Well, Roger Craig will have to rethink this one as he sends rookie Eric Gunderson tomorrow against San Diego. Harris swing there. 0-2.
I guess at this point, McKeon figuring he has enough, leading 7-3, because this is almost a classic situation where you squeeze with a pitcher at the bat.
Well, he's gone very quickly, and O'Neill has the strikeout. So 2 outs now here in the top of the 9th. 4 runs already in. San Diego claiming a 7-3 lead on San Francisco. The Padres have pounded out 14 hits. The big one came this inning. Line shot right at Kevin Bast, went off the heel of his glove on into right field. 2 runs came in. San Diego broke the 3-3 tie. Now they lead 7-3, and Benito Santiago stepping in there with runners at the corners, 2 outs.
I look at my score sheet. They've got 14 hits, and I've got 4 indications of line drives that were caught, and another line drive that Bass didn't catch in right field and was charged with an error on.
Santiago takes a strike. Inside, missing low. 1 ball, 1 strike. Look at Benito's jersey. His name is spelled wrong.
Let me tell you something.
Santiago.
If he starts hitting, that will not change. You know, you'd think a guy who's been in this league and has been a star, this is an all-star, they'd know how to spell his name.
And that's his own clubhouse guy. It looks like a Japanese beer.
Yes.
Runner going, but Santiago way up. Look at the throw by the catcher, Gary Carter. Was there obstruction? Carter is arguing the case as the ball goes into center field. Weaver comes out from behind home plate, and Roger Craig will now argue the case. But looks like the Giants will lose here. The run comes in.
Now the batter does not have to vacate the batter's box. He does not have to do anything to give Carter room as long as he stays in the batter's box. But if the batter leaves the box and interferes at all with Carter. Now, is Santiago still in the box? Absolutely not. His foot's on home plate. Carter has a legitimate beef.
So a run scores on the error by Gary Carter. And it's 8-3 San Diego. The Padres have scored 5 here in the 9th. And Joe Carter is at third base, still with 2 outs. And O'Neill has had no luck at all. And it's popped up. Foul territory. Over goes Clark. Who's going to take it? Finally, Will Clark does. And the inning finally is over for the San Francisco Giants. But the Padres score 5 to take an 8-3 lead.
Who's that? Our neighbor Orrin. Ever since he got his new Murray, he's been mowing the whole neighborhood.
When you pay good money for a mower, you want it to be tough and dependable.
Does such a good job, we're making the yard bigger. What? Does such a
Murray
good...
mowers are as tough as they come, cutting after cutting after cutting.
That Murray's a good buy.
What?
Goodbye.
Oh, say hello to Edna.
Murray mowers, tough as they come.
See, the house is completely renovated with the very best heating and cooling system.
Must be a Lennox. So we put in this new central air, and our bills are really...
Down?
Exactly.
Must be a Lennox.
Our furnace, not a day of trouble, ever. Must be a good one.
Must be a Lennox.
It must be.
Lennox Heating and Air Conditioning. Since 1895. Must be a Lennox.
Attaboy, Dave.
We're measuring consumer response to the new Suzuki Swift 4-door sedan. Do not attempt to adjust your set. The new Swift has more front legroom than this Rolls-Royce. More front headroom than this Mercedes-Benz. Gets better gas mileage than this Volkswagen. Starting at less than $7,400, the Swift costs less than this child's toy. This concludes our test. For complete results, see the Suzuki dealer nearest you.
Steve Physiak and Norm Hitzges in San Francisco, California, where San Diego has scored 5 in the top of the ninth to take an 8-3 lead over the San Francisco Giants. And back to the mound goes Greg Harris, who would stand to be the winning pitcher in this game. And he will face, here in the bottom of the ninth, Robbie Thompson to lead things off, followed by Gary Carter and then Jose Uribe. Crowd on their feet. Many of the 50,000 plus have left Candlestick Park after the huge inning by San Diego. Giants actually led going into the 8th, 3-2. Then Clark hit a home run, and then the floodgates burst forth on Dan Quisenberry in the 9th. Pitch remains low. 2 balls, no strikes to Robbie Thompson. Thompson's had a nice night this evening. A couple of base hits. Single, double, drove in a run in the 4th. Kicks inside. 3 balls, no strikes.
There are some hardy folks left here at Candlestick. Not only are they hanging around for the bottom of the 9th of a game their home team trails by 5 in, they've started a lot of clapping to try to get a rally started.
I think they're trying to stay warm right now with Greg Harris. Throws ball 4 to Robbie Thompson. Giants need 4 more of those to bring the tying run to the plate. And it brings to the plate Gary Carter. Did not have a strong spring, but he has been just beaten up in the last few years by injuries, mainly to his knees and also to his shoulder. But that back right leg has tendonitis in his knee, and that was the push leg when he drives on a pitch. And that has hurt him. They say he has got to be more of an opposite field hitter now with San Francisco. Takes inside, ball 1.
I spoke to Gary Carter about a week ago. He's still not certain he's made this club. There's 4 catchers here. Somebody's going to have to go when cutdown time comes.
Well, Manwaring has already been sent down. So they're going with 3 now. Right, I'm sorry, you're right. With Carter, Kennedy, Baith. Manwaring was sent down. So they're down to 3.
The idea, though, is for Manwaring just to get some work in the minor leagues. And Carter did not show good signs in the spring. The Giants are hoping this can be a 50-game player for them to relieve Kennedy. But if not, Manwaring comes right back. Manwaring's a good, solid catcher.
2 balls, 1 strike to Gary Carter. Robbie Thompson at first base. Here's the pitch, and Carter slams it foul. Deep left field. It's 2 balls and 2 strikes. On deck, Rick Leach and Bill Baith. Carter does not run well. San Diego Padres infield at double play depth. We had 5 early double plays, but we have not had one since. We're talking the first 3 innings. Balls in the dirt, blocked nicely by Benito Santiago. And Harris has gone wild.
If Harris goes, in fact, already the trot toward the bullpen starts as backup catcher Mark Parent heads out there. And the Padres will get somebody ready.
Here's the 3-2 to Gary Carter. Pitch it high in the air. Shallow left field. Templeton fighting the ball. Bobbles it and drops it, and Thompson goes to second. Oh, the unmerciful wins at the stick.
You'd have to be here to get the full proper feel of how this ball moved around on Templeton. That ball probably wound up 50 feet towards center field from where it should have.
I mean, it was twisting around there. And anytime you see nervous feet like Gary Temple and you go, uh-oh.
Well, the Giants fans got used to cardiac games last year. The Giants were one of the most outrageous comeback type clubs last year. And you're going to have to prove to them they're not going to be the type again this year before you'll shut the fans off.
Well, they're standing and applauding.
Here's Rick Leach.
And there's Craig Leffert, former Giant who had 20 saves last year. As the former Michigan quarterback, Rick Leach.
Well, see, it's not hard to dream if you're a Giants fan
2 on, nobody out. If you can get 2 of the next 3 men on, you get to Bass, Clark, and Mitchell. That's the idea of this game. 2 of the next 3 to get on, and then Bass and Clark become the tying run of the game. This is a guy that was a very good pinch hitter in Texas last year. He's a good, solid player. Good, solid bench player.
I was really surprised he was let go. 2 on, nobody out. Giants trailing 8-3. The pitch to Leach. Breaking pitch in the outside corner. Strike 1.
The Padres figure to win this game in their last at-bat. They got 5 in the 9th. Notice they lost only 9 in the opponent's last at-bat. They won 17 games in their last at-bat. They had the best record in wins versus losses in last at-bat games.
Winds were 20 miles an hour when this game started. Who knows what they are now? And you can never tell which direction they're blowing. One flag's blowing to the east, the other one's blowing to the west. 8-3 ball game. San Diego has the lead. Greg Harris just trying to get out of the ninth. Pitch to Rick Leach. Stays with the off-speed stuff. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Give you your trivia question of the night, pal. You ready? Rick Leach finished 3rd in the Heisman balloting as a quarterback at Michigan. Score 1 and 2.
Ooh. You're going to have to give me the answer to that one.
After this pitch.
Beauty in there. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Billy Sims and Chuck Fusina.
Chuck Fusina. Boy, that's a name I haven't heard in a long time. The old Penn State running back.
Big roundhouse breaking ball.
Fusina, quarterback Penn State. Sims, of course, the All-American at Oklahoma. Pitch to Leach, reaches out, dumps one to right field. In comes Gwynn. He'll reach it. 1 down. The base runners return to 1st and 2nd. Anytime the ball is hit in the air on an evening like this, it is an absolute mystery. And that flag has been twisted around so much it has no idea. There's a tough one in straightaway center field.
Here's another guy who had a fine spring hitting the ball for the Giants. Bill Bay forced his way onto this rock versus fair park.
And if he had any kind of defensive consistency, he may be their starting catcher.
Well, there's no question about his stick. He's got the stick of a starting player. It is very difficult to find 300 hitting catchers in the minors, but that's what Bates is.
2 on, 1 out. We had 5 double plays in the first 3 innings of this game. We haven't had one since. Pitch to Bates. In there, strike 1. Thompson at second. Bates reaches out and grounds it foul, and he's in the hole, 0-2.
A clue to the fact that Greg Harris, the San Diego pitcher, hasn't been in the league very long. He shows up for tonight's game at Candlestick, a night game, and he isn't wearing a shirt underneath his uniform. He's out there bare-armed.
Craig Lefferts, he's ready. Thompson at second, Carter at first. 1 out. Padres leading 8-3 here in the bottom of the 9th. Bates checks his swing, balls in the dirt. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Harris' stay in this game probably depends on this hitter. Jack McKean isn't going to go very far with him when you figure the next 3 guys would all hit left against Harris.
McKeon trying to push San Diego over 500 for the first time this year. They came in at 2-2, and here's the pitch to Bill Bates. Checks his swing. Glances at foul. Roger Craig is feeling very confident. Jack McKeon even more so, but Craig was confident he's got a man warming up in the bullpen. His team down by 5. Bottom of the 9th inning. 1 out. The count 1-2 to Bill Bate. Runners take their leads, and the pitch is way outside. 2-2. Started tonight with San Diego scoring a run in the first. Giants came back in the first to tie it up. Padres went ahead in the 4th. Giants tied it up. And then San Francisco took the first lead in the bottom of the 7th at 3-2, but Jack Clark's home run tied it up off Dan Quisenberry. And then Quiz gave up all 5 runs in that 9th. And Bay pops it up, but will it stay in play? Santiago racing over, makes the catch, 2 outs.
Santiago made that play look pretty easy, and it was not an easy play. The third baseman, Biff Roberts, could not get there for this ball. He'd have never gotten to the ball.
No, Norm, were the rumors swirling last year with Sandy Alomar having 2 great back-to-back seasons in Las Vegas. Would he be the new catcher? Would Santiago be dealt? And now it's all over. Benito is their catcher. And Alomar's in Cleveland.
There was a lot of talk at one time of the rift between McKeon and Santiago being the reason that Santiago would be the one gone, not Alomar. But the Padres basically took the bird in the hand versus the 2 in the bush. They knew what they had in Santiago, and it's good.
Although Alomar had a wonderful spring for the Cleveland Indians.
Yeah, but spring and minor leagues,
you bet.
That's all into the ballpark. Santiago's done it. He's done it on a major league basis. The pitchers like him. He's got a terrific arm. Oh, my.
Just visited with Greg Harris. Padres trying to nail down this 8-3 win. Spoil the home opener for the San Francisco Giants. Thompson leads from second. Carter from first. Here's the pitch to Brett Butler, and it's strike 1. Kevin Bass is on deck.
Nice composure by the youngster Harris. After a walk to start the inning and then a pop fly dropped, it could have ruffled other pitchers. He settled down. He threw strikes to Leach, threw strikes to Bay, gets ahead of Butler.
Now as the count 1 ball, 1 strike to Brett Butler. Roberts playing tight just in case Butler tries to bunt one. Very doubtful here in the 9th inning with 2 outs. Clark off the bag at third, playing behind the base runner Gary Carter. And here's the 1-1 pitch to Brett Butler high, and they're trying the pickoff play, and they get it to end the game. Robbie Thompson is picked off by Benito Santiago, and the Padres win 8-3. What a way to end a game.
Well, he picked off 7 last year just like that. You don't have to give Santiago's cannon much room, and he loves to throw the ball around the infield. Just loves to zip it.
And Thompson had wandered too far away from second base, and Benito Santiago, one of the stars tonight. San Diego had plenty of them. Greg Harris gets the win. San Francisco loses their home opener, and they're now 2-2 on the season. And here's Benito Santiago. Last year, every time he threw the guy out at second base, he was on his knees. He finally stood up this time. And Robbie Thompson, you are gone. And so too is San Francisco. So the home opener here at Candlestick Park is spoiled as the 54,000 head out on a cold night in April. Winning pitcher Greg Harris, losing pitcher Dan Quisenberry. Coming up on Baseball Tonight. Next Friday, we've got the Houston Astros going against the Los Angeles Dodgers. Our regional game, Seattle against the Oakland A's. Santiago throws out Thompson to end the game. The Padres beat the Giants 8-3. For Norm Hitzges, I'm Steve Physiak. Let's go back to our Baseball Tonight studios and John Saunders.
Thanks a lot, Steve and Norm. 8-3 is the final. The season begins in San Francisco the way it ended last year against the Oakland A's with a loss. A reminder now before we get you to Sports Center that we have more baseball action coming your way on Sunday night. The first of our Sunday night schedule will be the New York Mets at the Montreal Expos, joined John Miller and Hall of Famer Joe Morgan. They'll have the call live at 8 Eastern. The Twins and the Angels. Minnesota with 5 runs in the 7th inning. They win at 7-4 is the final there. Parrish with a 2-run homer, but Dwyer had the 2-run single pinch hitting. The A's and the Mariners. The A's have outscored their opponents 26-15 in 3+ games. 24-10 is what they are down the Seattle Mariners. That's all the time we have for baseball tonight. Sports Center's up next with Eric Clemens and Ann Montgomery. See you later.
Coming up on SportsCenter, the Bruins try to push the Whalers to the brink of elimination. But Pat Burns knows talk is cheap in the playoffs. His Canadiens were doing in Buffalo. The Islanders can certainly stand pat, but would his return be enough to keep them alive against the Rangers? Speaking of comebacks, Tudor was terrific, but Bill was left blue after facing the Dodgers. In the NBA, the Bucks did any and everything in attempts to stop Michael and the Bulls. Hurry, take your positions. You'll walk away upset if you miss SportsCenter. Coming up next. Hello again, everyone. Welcome to this edition of the SportsCenter along with Ann Montgomery. I'm Eric Clemens, and we start the show with hockey. Friday night marking the 50th anniversary, the last time the New York Rangers took home a Stanley Cup. Of course, the playoffs began bleakly with a lot of key injuries on defense, including Brian Leetch, but they took a step closer tonight.
That's right. If they play the way they did against the Islanders, maybe they could win their second cup in 50 years. Over the years, time and again, the New York Islanders have eliminated their crosstown rivals from the NHL playoffs. The Rangers had beaten the Isles just once in 6 postseason series. Friday night at the Garden, however, the Rangers had a chance to eliminate the Islanders for a change. There was good news for the Islanders, who had Pat LaFontaine back in action, but not much had changed hitting-wise since his last game. Norman Rochefort takes a run at Randy Wood, so Wood runs at Darren Turcotte. And Turcotte is hurt. Looks like he hyperextended his knee. Turcotte had to leave the game for the night. No word has been released on his status. Second quarter, Jeff Bloomberg shoots from the point, and Mike Gartner tips it in, his second goal of the night. Third period, Rangers up 5-3. Wayne McBean blasts one from the point, deflects past Mike Richter. 5-3 Rangers later in the third. Wood rushes in on Richter, and it squirts through. That cut the Rangers lead down to 1. But 26 seconds later, Gartner blows it by Glenn Healy from the right side. 6-4 Rangers. The Madison Square Garden fans are convinced, and they're one step closer to the cup. The final, the New York Islanders 5, the New York Rangers 6. The Rangers win the best-of-7 series with ease, 4-1. They will face either the Devils or the Capitals for the Patrick Division title. At the Meadowlands, the game between Washington and New Jersey. First period, Dale Hunter is alone in front of the goal. 1-0 Caps after 1. Second period, Rod Langway knocks the net off its moorings, gets called for a delay of game. That leaves the Devils with a 2-man advantage, and they would take advantage. Don Beaupre stops Bruce Driver's slap shot. John Morris scores on the rebound, and John Cunniff's team takes a 2-1 lead into the third period. 27 seconds into the final frame, Langway with a shot from the point. Mike Ridley scores in the backhand, tied at 2. Then Dino Cicerelli tips home a Kelly Miller pass. That gave the Caps the lead for good. Jeff Portnoy seals it with this wrist shot past Chris Terreri. The final, Washington 4, New Jersey 3. The Capitals can wrap up the best-of-7 Patrick Division Series Sunday in Landover.
Now, before we get to the rest of the National Hockey League playoffs, we'd like to welcome the viewers who saw tonight's Twins and Angels contest to this edition of the Sports Center. Now back to hockey. People will talk for a long time about Wednesday's amazing comeback the Bruins pulled off against the Whalers on the road. 4 unanswered goals, even the series, and swung home ice advantage back to Boston. But home ice means little when the road Whalers come a-calling, and what better way to forget a terrible loss than to rest the advantage back at Boston Garden. Dave Poulin and the Bruins making their goal a clear one tonight. First period, Bruins with a 2-man advantage. Beautiful passing results in the Bryant prop goal in front of the net. Scores tied at 1. Second period, Craig Janney gives it away in his own end. Andy Moog makes the initial save, but Dave Tippett scores on the rebound. It's tied at 2. Mike Milbury says, I need a score, so why not go to his leader, Cam Neely, who intercepts Peter Sidorkovich's pass and takes full advantage. His second of the game. Bruins up 3-2, and Rick Lee of the Whalers disgusted. Bruins held the lead with solid defense. Watch the poke check. Don Sweeney gets it away from Dean Evison on the breakaway, and the Bruins and Andy Moog win it over the Whalers 3-2. Bruins now with a 3-2 lead in the series. Game 6 Sunday in Hartford. The Boston Power play the story, 2 for 5 on the night, 7 for 24 in the series. The Whalers just 2 for 26. In Buffalo, the Sabres and Canadiens battled to break their deadlocked semifinal series. Sabres happen to be at home because they have the Earl doing the Pee-wee. And they get the breaks. Patrick Roy chases the puck to the corner. Darren Shannon beats him to it, feeds Scott Arniel for the empty netter. More good bounces. Rick Five with the chip shot, and Roy actually knocks it in over his own shoulder. Sabres up 2-1. Sabres get a great call for them here. Darren Pupa reaches for the puck. It's a good 4 inches into the net, but the ref never saw it, and if they don't see it, it's no goal. But the Canadiens overcome it all. Bobby Smith with the blast over the glove hand side of Pupa, tied at 2. Stephane Richer with a nice fake. He scores, makes it 3-2 Canadiens, and Pat Burns knows it's easy to say, but tough to do. His team beats the Sabres in Buffalo 4-2. They take a 3-2 lead in the series. Stephane Richer 2 goals in the game. He has 6 in the series, which moves back to the Forum on Sunday for game number 6. Now, in other news, the sale of the Minnesota North Stars is in no way final. KSTP Television reported Friday that North Stars co-owner Gordon Gunn agreed to sell the team to businessman Howard Baldwin for $31 million. The deal would reportedly keep the team in Minnesota. However, Baldwin denied